Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to you all, live on this last Saturday of September 2024 to the 962nd episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream. We've been doing this in some way, in some form, in some fashion, for some reason, for the past nearly 22 years. This is our 962nd show, and we started on terrestrial radio, we've been on internet radio, we've been on college radio, and now here we are, as we have been for a few years, streaming live on Facebook with the archives, then also on Facebook and in other places. It's so great to see you, except of course I can't really see you. I'm making believe, but you can see me, Dave Lefkowitz. I am bereft today. Excuse me, I am without the services of my darling and adorable wife who has school stuff. School on Saturday. School on, at our age, right? School on Saturday, but she gotta go, she gotta be there, make an appearance, so she is. And she's also gonna be working there. So yeah, I'm stuck alone, to quote Neil Young, alone at the microphone. But it's okay, because we still have a great show for you today on Dave's Gone By. So let me tell you what we're going to do first and pretty much foremost. And there's a long story attached to this, and I'll probably tell it later as well. But gosh, the unpacking of this is going to take 20 minutes, as everything does with me. So here's the deal. When I was a little journalist stripling, a theater critic cub, I was seeing every show that I possibly could on Broadway, off-Broadway, off-off-Broadway, trying to cover everything, trying to see 5, 6, sometimes 8 shows a week in New York, often while trying to hold down a full-time job, which should tell you something about my career history. But, so I would see everything on 42nd Street and 49th Street, but also run down to the Village. I'd be going up to 76th Street to the Triad and what they then called the Promenade Theater, and then just running pretty much everywhere while also commuting from Long Island. But my travels, among many, took me to West 29th Street, which is a pretty convenient place if you're commuting from Long Island. It's one of the most convenient theaters you can go to if you've got to jump on the Long Island Railroad back home. But I was also intrigued by a theater company there that was called the 29th Street Repertory. And they started up, I'm pretty sure, in the very late 70s, probably early 80s. And then I started seeing a lot of theater in the mid-80s and reviewing in the late 80s. So I was checking out what they were doing. I'm not sure if the first thing that I saw of theirs was Killer Joe. Might have been. They weren't the first people to do Killer Joe. It was done in Chicago. Killer Joe, kind of the show that made Tracy Letts's name as a playwright. And of course, he's become very well known. He wrote the, I believe, Pulitzer-winning play August Osage County, and he's had a couple of plays on Broadway, Superior Donuts, which they made very briefly into a TV sitcom, and so forth. Anyway, before he was known anywhere outside of like 100 people in Chicago, my friend, Mary Shen Barnage, whom we all know, whom we all love, who is a theater critic out there in Chi-Town, saw the show, loved it, because she loves physical, violent theater. She loves costume theater, violence, all of that. And she saw Killer Joe, especially out there in little tiny theater in Chicago, and went, man, this is big. This is that old school David Mamet, Steppenwolf, brutal, not chaotic, but visceral kind of theater. And she loved it. And this fella who was running with a group of people, but I think he was kind of the head guy, who was running 29th Street Rep, saw the review and was like, oh my, I gotta check this play. This is exactly kind of theater that I want to be doing, that our theater company should be doing. So he goes to see it, and he absolutely, his mind is blown by the play, and moves hell and high water to get the first New York production and star in Killer Joe and star as Killer Joe, which, if you don't know, is this play about. I'm trying to remember what it is. I remember there's a cop in it, but there's also a real kind of dangerous psychopathy guy who's a bit violent and crazy, and the whole thing is just Let's, especially in the early days, had this strange dark underbelly that eventually becomes the overbelly. If you've ever seen the play Bug, which involves two seemingly normal people who become ultra paranoid about insects covering their hotel room, it's like, okay. Anywho, so this fella, David Mogentale, says, I want to do Killer Joe. And he does. And it becomes a cause celeb in New York. It's a big hit for off-off-Broadway. Right? But it makes the name of the company, kind of makes his name a bit. And I was seeing it, and I remember back then just having chats with him when I came down to 29th Street Rep, and he welcomed me because I was there as in a professional capacity. Either I was reviewing one of their shows, or I was interviewing someone from the company if I was doing a preview piece when I was writing for Playbill.com. So, we established, I don't want to say a cordial, hey there kind of relationship. How you doing? What play are you working on next? I'm doing this and this and that. What play am I writing next? I'm doing this. And hey, 29th Street Repertory, if you'll promise me to put it on, I'll write a really dark, brutal play, but I'll try to make it funny. So we had that kind of relationship going for a few years, and I reviewed a few of their plays and so forth. And so kind of lost touch, kind of lost track over time, and I haven't been as connected to New York theater in more than a decade now, because I lived in Colorado for a decade or so, then came back to New York for a little bit, but now we've been in Maryland for 2 years. So, and in the time being, I'm like, well, I wonder whatever happened to 29th Street Repertory Theater. I wonder what they've been up to, and I wonder what this guy, David Mogentale, is doing now. Because he was a really scary, commanding, interesting stage presence. And, if he didn't want to go for the big movie Broadway career, then what was he doing over these past years at 29th Street Rep? Well, it turns out, like everything else with off-off-Broadway, rents just go from incredibly expensive but still somewhat manageable to the landlord raises the rent like 75%, and within half a year they're out on this. And I think that might have been part of it, but I hadn't heard about them in a long time. No press releases about them. And apparently they basically disbanded, apart from some little things that they're doing, and they're not in their space anymore on 29th Street. So, okay, that's what happens, but what happened to him? Is he getting any credits anywhere? So I go look, I do the Google thing, right? And I Google and find out that, he appeared at Pittsburgh Public Playhouse in, not that long ago. Well, maybe now about a decade ago, in a show there. Great, fine, wonderful, cool. Is he alive and well? How's he doing? David Mogentale. And now that's part one. I told you it would take 20 minutes from. That's part one. I'm not going to be hilarious while telling it. Part two, and I told this last week, is that my wife and I visited New York just before the start of the semester, the fall semester, where we're teaching. And in our quick travels there, we were going to a museum. We had a hotel in Midtown, and then we were going up to, just felt it was a lovely day. And especially early in the morning, it hadn't gotten really hot yet. This was early August. So we go for a nice long stroll uptown to get to a museum, which will just be opening by the time we get there. And we go, and we're walking, and we say, okay, it's enough. We've walked enough, now let's walk back to the museum. We start going back downtown, and we pass a play. And I'm sorry if you were watching. I'm not sorry if you were watching last week. I'm sorry if you heard the same story last week. But if you didn't, and you're just watching today, you haven't heard it, so it's new. Okay, so we're walking back, and we come passing by. In fact, we're across the street, and my wife notices, Dave, there's Barney Greengrass. It's not a human being she's talking about. She's talking about a restaurant, an old school, not kosher, but real Jewish style restaurant that specializes, that caters to people who love fish, right? And I'm not totally in love with fish, but I like fish. And the main thing was that my cousin, Adam, who just turned 50 years old like a week or two ago, had been hawking me over the years because he lived on the Upper West Side. And he said, Dave, have you ever eaten at Barney Greengrass? Have you ever tried the fish at Barney? You have to go. It's the ambiance, it's the atmosphere, it's also the food. You've got to go to Barney Greengrass. And I was never that high up, usually on the west side of Manhattan. And I balked at the price, because I'm lower to middle class Jew, and not like we have money to spend like whoever on going to a restaurant and spending $100-something. So it's like, but my wife is like, you know what, Dave, we're here. You've never tried the place. What are you waiting for? It's almost lunchtime. You're not going to get the chance to go back to Maryland. You don't know when you'll see this again. Your cousin has been telling you about this for years. We're across the street from Barney frickin' Green. Go get something. Go buy some food. Go get your lunch at Barney Green. And we're on vacation. Whatever the hell it costs, who cares? Just enjoy it, right? So I didn't need much more goading than that because I'm a food-based person. Me like food. So I go across the street, and I'm like, okay, my wife doesn't go into a lot of places because of still of COVID and stuff like that. So she's like, I'll wait out here. And also, she's allergic to fish. So even going into a place that is devoted to fish is kind of probably going to make her break out. So I go in, and it really is marvelously old school. I'm talking like matzo boxes on the shelves, right? I'm talking Dr. Brown's cream soda. I'm talking like slabs of fish, like you were getting a deli market, but just beautiful looking salmon and not tuna, as far as I can recall, but other things like sable and sturgeon. And then I don't even know what the hell to get. And I don't know if I just want a bagel. I don't know if they even do bagels. They must do bagels. All right, you know what? I was told the fish is incredible. So I look on their counter thing and say, you know what? Let me just taste fish, right? Which is what I sang on my honeymoon. But let me have a little. I'll have a thing. Let me have half a pound. I think I said, or quarter pound, something ridiculous like that, of your sturgeon. Because if you look at it, oh my God, I forgot the bag. Oh, I was doing all the decorating. Oh my goodness, how could I? Oh, don't go away, ladies and gentlemen. Look. They are, in fact, Barney Greengrass, the sturgeon king, right? Real guy named Barney Greengrass. I'm sure they changed his family's name at Ellis Island or whatever. It was probably Greenstein and Glossenburg, and then they just went to Greengrass because that's how some idiot message taker by the Statue of Liberty said, we'll just call you Greengrass. So Barney Greengrass, okay, is this place. The sturgeon, there he is and you can't see his genitals, it's okay. 100 years, the sturgeon king. So I'm like, I see this, you know what? I don't know what to get. I don't know what to do. I wasn't planning on coming in here. I'm looking at the thing. It's not like a real menu, and I know I'm not going to eat in there because my wife can't eat with me. So I'm like, let me give me. I think I said a quarter pound of sturgeon. So they carve it out. They slab it out on the thing. They wrap it up in that wax paper that they use, and boom, it's like $20. And I walk outside the door, and my wife is like, okay, sit, eat. Because don't bring it back to the hotel. We're going to the museum. Just they have tables outside, as they've had all these places have had since COVID. Sit, enjoy. It's beautiful out. Eat. I have a little beverage. I'll drink. You have your fish. Try it. Yeah. For 20 years, your cousin has been hawking you. Try it. So I open up the thing. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll have some fish. What do I take a piece of this sturgeon, and like a sturgeon, hey, touched for the very first time in my tum-tum. It was like the most delicious, complex flavors, not too salty, not badly fishy, just this fresh, incredibly, nice and chewy. I like a steak-like fish, but it isn't tough like steak, but it also isn't too flaky like fish. It's just heavenly. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, and I realized we probably do have to go back to the hotel to change my pants after the foodgasm I've just had. And I'm eating it. I'm like, honey, this is unbelievable, right? And maybe it's also because I eat salmon quite a bit. I have salmon in sushi and the occasional salmon dinner. I have tuna a bit. I love raw and rare tuna on things, but sturgeon probably haven't had since a wedding or bar mitzvah. So maybe it isn't that incredible. It's just been a flavor that I haven't really tasted in a very, very, very long time. And it's not something that you get at a local fish market, fish counter in a Wegmans, right? Or a Lidl or a Stop and Shop. So the newness of it, the freshness of it, the flavor of it, it was 10 minutes of heaven sitting there at that table. No bagel, no accoutrement, just straight pieces of fish. And I was like, oh yes, oh yes, oh yeah. Now, why am I telling this story in relation to this guy I knew at the 29th Street Repertory Theater? This is where we get the conjugation. This is where it all comes together, my friends. So I go looking to see what happened to my friend David Mogentale. And the basic first thing that comes up after the stuff about the Pittsburgh Public Theater is that, yes, he's still an actor, and he actually is a voice in Grand Theft Auto 5, which is the most important big video game, if that's what they call it now, of the world. So he's still, it has his skin in that game, but he's a waiter at Barney Greengrass, the Sturgeon King. And somehow, on that morning that we were walking along in New York, stopping by sheer coincidence at Barney Greengrass, I was like, there were like these old counter guys, these real, like sort of crusty, but sort of lovable deli men. And it made me think, oh my God, did I see him? Did I actually see, because it had been 25, 30 years since I physically met David Mogentale in the flesh. And now, I'm like, was I physically there at Barney Greengrass talking to a crusty guy behind the counter? And it was him. But it apparently wasn't. I wasn't there on a day that he was there, unfortunately. Because he might have recognized me. It would have been hard for me to recognize him because he has changed a bit physically. He was always imposing, but he was always sort of tall, and he just looks different, but not in a bad way. And anyway, but this ridiculous confluence of within a couple of weeks of finally trying this restaurant, and of all the places in all the world, and all the cities, and all the restaurants that David Mogentale could wind up in, is Barney Greengrass, and he's known there. He's kind of legendary because he's been there from the time he was at 29th Street Rep. This isn't a new thing. He didn't sort of give up acting to become a waiter. Most people give up waiting to try and be actors, and then they give up both and get a real job. He had this waitering job while trying to act, and he just kept the waitering job forever because he makes good tips and everything. I think he likes it there. So, and of course, the fringe benefit is you get to eat. I'm sure he gets like a free meal every time he works of Barney Greengrass food. So he's there, and I missed him, alas. But we're going to get to talk to him because he's had quite a life. The article that comes up when you Google him from Tablet Magazine is also the stuff about what has happened in his life. That he has become a beloved, sometimes controversial presence at Barney Greengrass because he's one of those waiters who isn't like, yeah, kindly enjoy your meal. Let me know if I can get you anything. No, he's that old style 1930s. Here, you don't like the way it looks? I'll turn the plane that way. You good? Yeah. I mean, the bantering, the sort of, come on, I'm busy. What are you bothering? It's a perfectly good plane for Ian. That kind of waiter, which he's become known and beloved for. He is part of the establishment of Barney Greengrass, right? So he's that. He's also suffered a heavy bout of cancer that he has gotten over. He lost his wife of many years, his beloved wife. He's done some other acting. He has kind of been on Broadway, but kind of not, over about 20 years ago. So he has quite a story to tell. And he is going to tell it to me just a little bit later in the broadcast on this episode of the Dave's Gone By show. So yes, all that preamble to tell you why, and to whet your appetites, not just for sturgeon, which is unbelievable, not just for sturgeon, but for the guy working at the Sturgeon King, David Mogentale. He will be with us in the Daverhood on Dave's Gone By. Plus, we have other things to do today on the program. For example, we will have Greeley Times, a segment based on stories in the Greeley Tribune newspaper. Here it is, my friends. The Greeley Trib, which every week takes a list that they get from the local police department of all the phone calls that come into their dispatch. The funniest, most ridiculous ones go into a column called Cop Log that they publish, and then we go through Cop Log because it's intentionally funny, and we pull out the most intentionally funniest of the intentionally funny ones, and we do that in a segment called Greeley Times. Plus, what else are we going to do? I may even do Bunion Watch today. Yes, we've skipped it for a week or so, of showing you the size, the shape, the color, the condition, the texture, the bone density, my friends, of my foot bunions. Oh, you've arrived on just the right day. Plus, what else are we going to do? Dave's Big Dictionary. This is a segment that we've been doing for a few years now, where we get a word from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. When I say we, this particular week, I mean me. We get a word from the dictionary, and my job is to come up with some 5 minutes, whatever extemporaneous thought comes into my head to talk about that word. I have no preparation beforehand except the time between I choose the word and the time I get to just talk about it. It can be very directly about the word, or just whatever it brings to mind tangentially, and then I go off stream of consciousness like on that bit of verbiage. So to start things off, let me do what Joyce, my wife, figured out a few months ago, that Merriam-Webster itself has been taking the lead on this in order to bring notoriety and promotion to Webster's dictionary, which, is anybody still buying a dictionary? But online people are using it. So the way to get themselves on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, is to have a word of the day. So rather than my having to choose a random word, they do it for me. Let me see what the Merriam-Webster word of the day is for this Saturday, today, September 28th, 2024. So here we go. The word of the day for this Saturday is, interesting. According to Webster's, the word is avatar. Avatar, A-V-A-T-A-R, an electronic image, as in a video game, that represents and can be manipulated by a computer user. It also refers to the embodiment of something, often in a person, the incarnation of a deity, such as a Hindu deity like Vishnu. So yeah, we got a couple of pretty good ways to go with the word avatar for Dave's Big Dictionary. So again, I'm going to stew on that, think about it, and then hopefully come up with something reasonably amusing and interesting to talk about involving whatever avatar brings to mind. I'll do that later in the show. Plus, I'm on this program, usually these days, our interviews are conducted by the one, the only, the Jewish, the great Rabbi Saul Solomon. Well, Rabbi Saul, of course, is really, really busy prepping for the Jewish New Year. So, yeah, he didn't have time to do the interview with David Mogentale. And since I have history with David, I figured, okay, Rabbi, let me do the interview this week, right? We're both theater people. We have a history. You go do, polish up the tops of the Torahs and things. But Rabbi Saul is never one to really be pushed completely to the side. So he is going to be on this episode of the Dave's Gone By show. What he's going to do is story time. So since the Jewish New Year is coming this week, I believe it's Tuesday night into Wednesday, is Rosh Hashanah. Happy New Year, everybody. So he figures, let him read something Jewish. Let him read an appropriate book for the Jewish New Year. And what could be better than the Little Classics edition of David and Goliath? Because, the story is actually unfolding as we speak, with Israel taking on like half of the Arab world right now. I'm just trying to not be missile attacked and horribly attacked at music festivals, as we also ramp up next week into the anniversary of October 7th. So Rabbi Saul is feeling it. He's feeling the David and Goliath story this particular Shabbos and this particular Erev of Rosh Hashanah. He will be reading this book, which is by, who wrote this? I don't know if these things have authors attached to them. It's by Marlene Targ Brill and illustrated by Thomas Johnny from Publications International Limited. So, oh joy, and the book is from 1998. Okay, check that out. Rabbi Saul reading the David and Goliath book on StoryTime. So yay. And so we got a lot going on this show. Even though I missed terribly my darling and adorable wife this week, we have all these things. Greeley Times, our guest in the Daverhood, Bunion Watch, Dave's Big Dictionary, the David and Goliath. Isn't that enough? Don't you think you should be satisfied? But of course you're not. Of course nobody is satisfied with anything these days. So, to top it all off, we do of course have a Colorado Limerick of the Damned. This is a poem that is awful and tasteless and disgusting and in limerick form, short 5-line poem, based on a place in Colorado. Started doing these years ago when my wife and I lived in northern Colorado, and I just took it into my head. I'm like, oh, I can make a funny poem about that place. I can make a funny poem about that place. And I can make a truly rancid and disgusting poem about that place. And this went on as just a 1 or 2 time goof until I couldn't stop myself, as I can't. And now I've got more than 300 of these terrible, short, evil poems about places in Colorado. So today we're going to go, and much later in the show, to a place called Badito, Colorado. And no, it's not Bandito, it's Badito, Colorado. I'll tell you a little bit about it. There's not that much to tell, but I will also have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. So aren't you happy that you tuned in today, Saturday, September 28th, 2024, to the 962nd episode of Dave's Gone By. Ha! Dave's Gone By. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. If you want to find out more about the show, remember that our archives are at davesgoneby.com. Dave, like my name, with an S, davesgoneby.com. Literally, especially as we move to next week, which starts our next anniversary of the program. We began on October 6th, 2002. So yeah, we're hitting the 22 years on the air mark, and I guess starting our 23rd. It becomes more and more important than ever to me to have everything codified and documented. I'm trying to write a memoir of the whole thing while teaching 6 classes. So Yeah, davesgoneby.com. You can go back and listen to the first episode we ever did in 2002. It's less than an hour long because we were on terrestrial radio late night, 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. And then every episode just about that we have done in the many, many, many years since. I mean, we've tried to save every single one. So a couple of them have audio issues. We lost 2 or 3 along the way, but all the others, whether they're the video shows we've been doing for the past 6 years or 7 years, to all the different audio shows, radio shows, and podcasts we've done, they're there. All you got to do is go to davesgoneby.com. You can search the archives. You can scroll and skim. You can look through the list of all the famous people we've interviewed and go find and either listen to the full episode they were on or just the interview themselves. We've got a website for you. It's called davesgoneby.com. We also put our archives at archive.org, a not-for-profit site where we have a channel, the Dave's Gone By channel. You can find the same material there. So, if our website is having an issue, or it goes down, or it's slow, or we're having things with Bluehost, fine. You can go to archive.org and find the same material. You can find a lot of it on YouTube. I want to talk about that. And you can also find the audio archives on castbox.fm. Cast, like arm in a cast, box, like what women have down there, castbox.fm. And this is, again, just the audio files, even of the more recent shows that are video. But if you're on the go and you want to listen to something as a podcast rather than have to sit there and watch or be on the computer, you can just take it on your device, your phone, and wherever you are, listen to Dave's Gone By. Castbox.fm is a cool way to do that. So check it all out. It's all the same stuff, whether it's our Facebook page, whether it's our davesgoneby.com, archive.org, castbox.fm, or our YouTube channel, Dave's Gone By. We're really just trying to have all our stuff out there in as many forms and places as people can find it and listen to it. Which brings me to, a little pissy moment with YouTube, and then a gratitude moment with YouTube. So, about a week ago, I guess, Rabbi Saul Solomon, whom I've just mentioned, was on the program. He did an interview, and he stayed on. He did 2 things last week. No wonder he's so exhausted, and which is a problem when he's doing those brisses. But Rabbi Saul did a new rabbinical reflection. He was really hopped up, because it's been a difficult year for Jewish people. My goodness, it certainly has. Since January, and then, of course, going back to a full year of last October. So Rabbi Saul has been more vociferous and enraged and dark than usual, and that's something. But he had a great moment that week and a half ago when you all heard about the cell phones, right? The pagers, excuse me. The pagers of all these people from Hezbollah. I seem to have a call coming in. Let me check. Error? I just have to press this button to clear the error. Right? Beautiful Mossad moment of a little bit of revenge of what Hezbollah has been doing in Lebanon, and still sideways revenge for what happened October 7th in Israel, and then this ongoing war in Gaza, right? So Rabbi Saul is in a surprisingly jovial, jubilant mood at this incredibly ingenious act of revenge. This crazy, like James Bond style, plan this for a few months. It's like this time bomb waiting to go off, the glass of milk in the Hitchcock film, right? And then fadum, and like Hezbollah operatives all over Lebanon who have these devices there weren't a lot of deaths, unfortunately. There was a proofreader at NPR, I think it was, on one of those sites, and said 30,000 casualties. And it's like, 30,000? No, there were like 9 casualties, and 30,000 people got injured when these things went off. Which, the left-wing people are going to try and make it sound like, oh my God, Israel did this calamity thing. I wish they did. But no, the word casualty means dead, NPR proofreader. It does not mean just someone who was or hurt by something going wrong. If you have an automobile crash and you have 3 people hurt and no one dead, there are no casualties, right? So if you have a pager crash and 9 to 15 whatever people get blown up and everybody else loses limbs, well, yeah, but there's only nine actual casualties. So watch your headline writing, NPR. But don't get our hopes up. So Rabbi Saul was in this giddy pre-holiday mood, and he did a rabbinical reflection. These are his mini sermons about the world at large and at small. So he couldn't help himself. He had to share his joy at what Israel accomplished, what the Mossad accomplished in this act, right? And he's like me. He loves a good joke, and he loves a bad joke even more. So he makes all these jokes about pagers blowing up in the hands and the arms, the hands, the faces of these terrorists and the friends of terrorists and the family of terror. I think of 2 children died. Wow, fine. So Rabbi Saul makes like 20 of these one-liner jokes, most of them awful. They're all intentionally awful. Some I think are pretty damn funny. My favorite one, I'll tell you, my favorite one that he came up with is, what do a Lebanese terrorist testicles have in common with Flintstones? Bam, bam. Love it. I still love it. So he tells these jokes, but probably unwisely, he titled the rabbinical reflection Hezbollah Jokes, because God forbid you should tell your audience exactly what they're in for. So it's like Rabbi Saul's rabbinical reflection number, I think it was 189 or something at this point, because he's done that many of them. And if you want to read them all, they're at shalomdammit.com. So he does this rabbinical reflection of these rancid, beautiful jokes. And the title is Hezbollah Jokes. Well, we did them on the show, and then we abstracted the piece, and you can find just that segment on this site if you want to. So we'll go back and watch it just now without skimming our whole episode. You can. We call it a skit on Dave's Gone By. And we also take that skit and we put it up in a couple of other places, including YouTube. So we load it up on YouTube. Rabbi Salsa Hezbollah Jokes. Within hours, we get like a warning thing and saying, we have removed your content. No, well, I mean, this particular piece of content from YouTube because of our standards and practices, and it may be seen as this and that, or hate speech, or inciting violence, or appreciating violence, whatever shit YouTube was throwing at us. And, immediately Rabbi Saul and I felt attacked, like Israel. We go on the attack, and Saul's on the computer saying, they give you a thing of, do you want to appeal this? And I realize that Rabbi Saul is not very appealing, but he's going to appeal this decision. And so he writes back, and there's not going to be room to write why, which is this weird thing. They just say, we want to do an appeal. Yes or no? Do you accept this decision that we're going to remove this? And you've been warned, and if you have another thing, there could be strikes against you and so forth. So Rabbi Saul says, boom, yeah, because A, these are jokes. B, they're jokes about killing terrorists, our mutual common enemy as humans, as Americans, and as Jews, which you YouTube people may not be. You're probably AI space aliens at that point. And you probably have some AI algorithm working that looks for Hezbollah, sees the word, and before anything else, it's kind of like, if I had Ku Klux Klan in the title of an essay or a piece that I'm doing, a skit that I'm doing, I'm sure AI would be like, out, before even looking at it, right? So when he just puts his finger on the thing, please, we're going to appeal. Yeah, we don't have time to go through a whole big rigmarole or take the money to take YouTube to court or do some kind of class action with all these other people who are pro freedom of speech. And then we wait like a couple of days, and wouldn't you know, YouTube did come to its senses. Somebody there, maybe somebody who wasn't an actual algorithmic computer, kind of looked it over and went, okay, this wasn't a saying horrible, racist, Islamophobic. I mean, there is an Islamophobic tinge to the jokes. That's purposeful, but it's against terrorists. It's against radical Muslim people who are, and people is an arguable word here, who have a hatred for Israel, want to push Israel into the sea, want to, from the river to the sea, go drink my own pee. Don't. This is whom we're attacking, and we're attacking with comedy, right? And good for YouTube, good for understanding that is what the hell we're doing. That is the purpose of that particular piece from Rabbi Saul, which I kind of helped him edit and clean up a bit. So, yay for YouTube. Boo for them for dogging it in the first place and giving us a warning. So now we can really do something even more horribly disgusting because we don't have any warnings or strikes against us. We have a clean slate, so we can put up something of like, I don't know, like Malala Yousafzai getting blown up by a tank, which that won't even, it would have to be an exploding tank to blow her up. But, and we won't want to do that anyway. But here, it's just, it does piss me off because there was a point I had a fight with Facebook over a posting that I did about school shootings when there was yet another horrible school. They were happening, remember when they were happening like every 2 or 3 weeks a few years ago, or more than that? Like every week there was a school shooting. So did a parody song about that. And the idea was that, America is really, really messed up. We need some kind of gun control. But not taking necessarily guns away from everybody, just reasonable gun ownership in the States, right? So, but I do a song basically about the inevitability of the NRA, the inevitability of gun violence happening again and again and again and again. And since I did that song 3 years ago, it has happened again and again and again. Because we can, it's America. We can't stop. Our president has been shot at twice. Our former president, not Biden, Donald Trump. Our former president, in the past couple of months, has had his ear almost taken off by shrapnel from something hitting him near where a bullet struck, and another guy who's kind of up there trying to get at him from behind the gate. It's like, this is America. So I make a parody joke song about it, but I included in the song all actual audio clips of people screaming at a school shooting, at like parents going berserk and just screaming, oh my God, oh no, and using that, layering that into the audio of the song. I'm trying to remember what the hell the song was. You can find it on davescomeby.com. And Facebook was like, and I got some complaints about that, and I think they tried to take it down. And then I literally went to appeal it. I said, actually listen to the song. Yeah. And then you tell me if I am inciting violence, right? If I am saying that shooting children in a school is a good thing. I might joke about that, but no, use your brains if you still have brains, rather than all your brains just being plugged into computers that are doing all the sifting for you. Maybe as AI gets more subtle and intuitive and intelligent, then AI will start to recognize satire and start to recognize when someone is half joking, semi-joking, which is still okay, not joking at all, and is the next Adolf Hitler. Okay, got it. AI will be able to parse that pretty soon, and then we'll be all in great shape when computers run everything. It was kind of funny, man. I was showing in one of my classes. I teach a film class at one of the places I currently teach at, and part of that is also they lump in film, TV, and radio into one class that runs a semester. It's crazy. And it's like, let's do the whole history of media, 130 years of stuff. and show entire movies, and then have the kids actually learn anything. It's like, okay, fine, I'll do it, whatever, it's the course. So we're doing TV, and I show an episode of The Twilight Zone, a good one that was recommended by the chair, and it's I Sing the Body Electric. And it's not one of the real creepy, scary ones that keeps you up at night, like the Telly Savalas Killer Doll one, or the, To Serve Man. It's not one of those. It's actually a touching one, still a science fiction one, written of all people, Ray Bradbury, the legendary science fiction writer, right? And he wanted to get on The Twilight Zone in the worst way, sent a bunch of scripts. This was finally the one that Serling said, yeah, okay, we'll do this. And it's a nice episode. And surprising, because you think it might be going to a dark place, because it's about these children who lose their mom. Their dad's a widower, and he's just, he's busy, he's working, he can't really cope. He needs a female motherly influence in the house, so he goes to a place where they make robots. And he gets a robot grandma that looks physically and behaves and talks like a human being, except she's completely wired to be that way. She is still a robot, but she has, or at least, exhibits the emotions and feelings and good advice and the cooking and the cleaning of a grandma, right? So it's a sweet little, surprisingly touching episode. But I was watching it again this year, and I looked at it, I went to the class after it was over, and I was like, so how far now are we really? This episode was from like 1957. How far are we from this in real life? 20 years? 25 years before, we now have the AI capability to make these sentience almost. We can probably, I didn't say this, but they can design sex dolls to be more and more human and lifelike and to move in certain. Are we 20 years away from grandma AI doll humans? What seemed, because it's weird. In the 1950s, you have all these sci-fi movies, SF as they call it now, of going to Mars, rockets to Mars. And we haven't done that, really. We don't have people in spacesuits, trolling around looking for Mars women. The moon we've been to once or twice, and that hasn't really panned out very much the way we thought, even with Elon Musk trying his best. So, that all still seems 50 to 100 years way beyond my lifetime. And when they first thought of computers in the 1930s, these big giant machines and punch cards and what they would do, it's taken a long, long time. But from the idea that Ray Bradbury and other writers had in the 50s of really, truly humanoid robots to our actually having really, truly humanoid robots is so close, right? I mean, there's I guess it's not close at all, but there's a restaurant in Hunt Valley, Maryland, fairly near where my wife and I live. It's a sushi place, and it's apparently a small chain. And it's really cute because what they do is instead of the waiter bringing you the food, there's women or two at the cash register and there's cooks and whatever, but the waiter is this cute little robot machine with eyeballs with shelves on it, and it just kind of big, and it doesn't make. I think it may actually have a few English phrases that it speaks in its digital way. I have to remember that. But yeah, it's a place called like Izakaya or Izakawa 68. That's the name of the restaurant. And they're basically like vacuum cleaner or Roombas with shelves. They do a certain thing. They can sense when there's something they're going to bump into. So they go, and then they know to turn, and they know to come to a certain table, and then you're at the table. You take the food off the robot, and the robot goes back to the kitchen. This is real. This is absolutely true. But it's nothing quite like full AI human bot that Ray Bradbury was envisioning for I Sing the Body Electric. But my gosh, we are close on that aren't we? But anyway, and speaking of bots and things come to life, and then I promise we have so much more to get to on this episode of Dave's Gone By. But I get to extemporize a bit, don't I? I'm finally seeing it. I'm not through watching it, the movie. And I'd love your input on this in terms of writing back to me, sending me an email, davesgoneby@aol.com, or posting on our Facebook page. What do you or did you think of the movie Barbie? Because I did not see it during the big onslaught. I didn't see it in the summer of Barbenheimer. I just heard all about it, of course, and was curious about what they did and how campy it was and what they do. So I'm finally getting to watch the film. And I'm about, 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through it, because I watch movies during my lunchtime, mostly these. So I put like 20 to 25 minutes aside to watch part of a movie. And that's really my break for the day. And so I'm watching it, and I'm appreciating all the effort and the thinking that's gone into it. The look of the film, the jokes and the meta jokes and the meta jokes that they're throwing in about both Barbie and feminism, and this idea of Barbie being anti-feminist yet pro-feminist at the same time, and then a meta, it's there. It's all there. It's a thoughtful comedy. And yet am I the only one who hasn't laughed once? And I don't think it's because I might have, I'm 60 years old, come from a Brooklyn Jewish old background. I might be sexist in some ways. I'm sure I am. I just, the funny isn't there for me. And maybe it's because I'm not seeing it in a room filled with various moviegoers in a great Friday night mood, or a room full of women who grew up with Barbies, who knew about Barbies, hated Barbie, loved Barbie, and they're watching on the screen and then choosing to decide, is it pro-feminist? Is it anti-feminist? Is it think it's being feminist, but it's actually, is it seventh wave feminism here and wokeness and stuff? I don't care really about all. I respect all of that, of what's going into the film, but goddamn, it's amazing how subjective comedy is. And I say this as someone who screened the producers for my film class a semester ago, and watched it mostly die on the vine, a film that was my father's favorite movie, up there in my top 2 or 3 favorite movies of all time. A movie that I realize now is it's still funny, but it's funny when you quote from it, when you know the line is coming, and it's like Rocky Horror, you want to say the line back to the screen. So the first time you see it, you probably don't really laugh that much, either at the Bialystock and Bloom dynamic. You laugh invariably at Springtime for Hitler. Yes, and the first time you see Dick Shawn as the hippie Hitler. Yeah, okay. But the film itself, I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, wow, watching with this whole new generation, most of them not Jewish, so there's that. Didn't grow up, knew Mel Brooks from Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein and not much else. And then you hit them with this, and it's a very theatrical thing. Like the first half hour is right out of a play. It's essentially all in one scene in Bialystock's office. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not landing. And there's a chuckle here and there, and it felt like, of all people, Zero Mostel was overacting rather than landing his role and being so big, as we love Zero Mostel because he's such a big stage character. And it was actually Gene Wilder that they were appreciating more of what he was doing. And still, they were like, when it came out, like, some parts were funny. And they went on loving Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. And, well, it was okay to see the producers. Yeah, and this idea of film, old films don't always appreciate. We love them, and we smile at them, and we smile at the recollection of how we felt when we first saw them, but we don't necessarily laugh the way we did back then. Or a new generation certainly somehow wouldn't. Tastes have changed. Things get a patina that kind of coats over the laughter. And I'm sorry about that. I showed in an earlier year, I showed the Marx Brothers Duck Soup to my English class, which is maybe the most perfect comedy ever made, right? Argument is, it's up there. And a few people appreciate it. There were some laughs. People liked the mirror scene. But I was the only one just agog, staring at the screen again and going, this is so wonderful. And then everybody else not feeling it was wonderful at all. I think it was kind of cute, old, some cute lines. And one or two people got it. One or two people were in it. But everybody else in this class of like 20 were just kind of, or more likely, looking at their goddamn phones. Or trying to get their homework done if they could surreptitiously open their laptop and work on something when my eyes were glued to the screen and not watching them. It is what it is, But I'm going to be that person now, unless the last third of the movie is absolutely brilliant and hilarious. I'm going to be that person with Barbie, where everybody around me in this generation is going, oh, this is, oh, she's so funny, and this and this, and yes, Margot Robbie's gorgeous. I mean, there are reasons to watch this movie that are old school sexist reasons of like, you don't want to take your eyes off this woman from head to toe. Fine, but is she really making me laugh? Is Ken and it's a funny performance? No. Will Ferrell, funny? Ostensibly, I get that they're being funny. It's not triggering the old laugh mechanism. And just subjective as that. Well, I hope this show occasionally triggers your laugh button. It's called Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, usually my darling and adorable wife, but she has to be at school for the better part of the day, so I'm here all by my. I'm not here all by my lonesome. I'm not. I do have Potato with me. Potato, why are you wearing a helmet? You're worried about Hezbollah's revenge. Hezbollah is not going to attack us here in Maryland. Well, maybe Owings Mills, but not here where we are in Maryland. I promise you're safe, Potato. And plus you have a hat. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Anywho, what's that? What's that I smell? What's that you smell? Potato, you don't even have a nose. What? I smell fish. I smell good fish. That's right, Potato. You're smelling Dave's bag from Barney Greengrass. Why do I have a bag from Barney Greengrass? Let me remind you, folks, that coming momentarily on the program is my interview this week with actor and waiter David Mogentale, who was the founder of 29th Street Repertory in New York. That had a good 25-year run of doing plays like by Jack Henry Abbott, or adapted from Jack Henry Abbott, and Tracy Letts, probably best known for bringing Killer Joe originally to New York with Mogentale in the lead role. Plus, he'll tell you about some roles he had, kind of, on Broadway. He's also a voice that you've heard in Grand Theft Auto 5. So yeah, David Mogentale going to be talking to me in just a moment or two here on this 962nd episode of the Dave's Gone By show with me, Dave Lefkowitz. We're calling this one Tale Told for David Mogentale. But we also, don't forget, we have Dave's Big Dick Shaneri coming up, where the word will be Avatar. We've got Greeley Times coming up. We also have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, Bunion Watch. Oh my gosh, so much great stuff. And even Storytime with Rabbi Saul Solomon. So don't go away. Keep it right here for the rest of this program. We're here 9 to noonish every Saturday on Dave's Gone By. So let me open up my share screen with ya so that I can share my screen. And let's bring up the visage and the glasses of the one, the only, David Mogentale, our guest in the Daverhood. Well, we are here in the Daverhood with someone that I've known for, more than 30 years, although it's been many, many years since I've last seen and spoken to this actor. There's a guy named David Mogentale. And let me tell you, I remember him back from my early days of reviewing theater for places like Backstage and I also used to write news stories for Playbill. And I would go down to the 29th Street Repertory to see shows that were more dark and violent and Chicago-like than a lot of what else was being done off-off-Broadway. They particularly chose plays that were visceral in the way that Chicago theater was. And so the guy who was essentially running 29th Street Rep and choosing those plays, and most famously starring in one of them, a.k.a. Killer Joe, which basically made that and Bug made Tracy Letz's name, is this fella here, David Mogentale, who, and I swear to you, these two things, and it's going to take a moment or two, but I need to tell this story, because they are barely weirdly connected, and yet they happened within about 3 weeks of each other. So when my wife and I were visiting New York a couple of weeks ago before the start of the semester, we took a long walk uptown to go to a museum. And on the way back, we're passing a thing, and we pass this place that's been in New York for years and years and years, this restaurant that my cousin, who lived on the Upper West Side, raved about. And I said, Dave, have you ever eaten at Barney Greengrass? And I'm like, no, I've heard of it. I've just never had the opportunity. I haven't gone. He said, what's the matter with you? You're a New Yorker. You're Jewish. How have you never gone to Barney Greengrass? And for years, he's been hawking me about this. So we actually passed Barney Greengrass, and my wife was like, Dave, you got to go. And I'm like, nah, it's expensive, and we're going back to the hotel. So, Dave, your cousin Adam has been telling you have to go to this place. So I'm like, kind of, I really do want to go to this place. So I hawked some jewelry to buy half a pound of sturgeon from Barney Greengrass, the sturgeon cake. Because I didn't even know what to order when I'm in there. I'm like, okay, it's a wonderful place if you're a Jew of a certain age, because it's got like boxes of matzah and like Bosco syrup and Dr. Brown's. I mean, it's just nuts. And I go there, and they got these counter guys who are old and gruff. And I'm like, okay, I tried it. And if I tell you, I sat outside on a little table and ate half a pound of sturgeon. It was the most wonderful, orgasmic mouth experience. Well, apart from pastrami and things like that. So, okay, that's part one of the story. I will get to our interview, I promise. So that's part one of the story, and this happened back in August. So about 2 weeks ago, I was thinking, I was looking at some old reviews and things and looking over stuff on the website that I curate, totaltheater.com. And I'm like, 29th Street Rep. I wonder whatever happened to 29th Street Rep. I wonder whatever happened to David Mogentale. So let me Google. Let me see where he's doing theater, what he's doing, if 29th Street is itinerant and doing plays in other places. And then I see an article about this guy done about a year and a half ago on Tablet Magazine. And, I mean, boing, he has been for years now a waiter, a famous waiter at Barney Greengrass. And yet, is it Greengrass or Greenglass? Greengrass, right?
Barney Greengrass.
Grass.
Grass.
I don't think you were there the day that I walked in. You might have been.
No, I don't. I would have remembered you if I actually saw you.
Because I still look like
you look pretty much the same.
Really?
Yeah, no, you were kind of bald then too. I think.
It probably was.
Yeah,
balding. Not this bald, but balding.
Not that bald. No, you were a little bit more handsome and less bald.
Thank you much. But yeah, so I don't think I saw. Also, you wouldn't have waited at me because I was at the counter. But here's the deal. That at that moment, I was like, holy crap, I've got to get him on the show. I've got to talk about his years at 29th Street Rep, and I've got to get him talking about working at Barney Greengrass. So here is the man. He's also been on Broadway. He understudied the role of Biff on Broadway in a revival of Death of a Salesman, one of the great revivals of anything I've ever seen, with Brian Dennehy. And who played the mother? It was Elizabeth Franz. She was
Elizabeth Franz. Yeah.
They were just great. But I saw Kevin Anderson. I didn't get to see you because you were the.
I never went on.
Yeah. Tell me, were you hoping maybe the last week of the run?
Well, Well, I got a great story about that.
Tell me.
I did that. That was my first understudy role. It was my first Broadway role. And I really didn't want to do it because I just didn't want to understudy. And my agent kept on bugging me. And then David Richenthal, who produced it, actually called me 3 times at home and said, David, we want you to do this. So I met with him and I said, David, listen, I will do it, but I got to have a 6-month out. No one got a 6-month out in that whole cast except for me and Kevin Anderson, who played Biff. So what happens is, and Richenthal said to me, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I don't care. Richenthal said to me, as far as I'm concerned, David, if Kevin leaves, you got the part. Can you put that in writing, David? Arthur Miller has a lot to say about this, but I just tell you this is what I said. So, again, it was never written down. I signed the contract 6 months out, and I had my theater at 29th Street Rep, and I just loved doing plays there. That was my life. That's my proudest achievement is what I did there, and you saw so much of it. So I finally decided to do it. 6 months goes by. It's a huge hit. Everybody stays after it except for Kevin Anderson. Now, the thing I found out once I was doing the play was Brian Dennehy, they had such a bad understudy for Biff, and Kevin Anderson missed like half the shows. He's like a California, he's from Chicago, but he's like a sensibility of a California guy, doesn't miss his shows late, just sits on the beach, wants to just hang out, missed half the shows. The understudy was so bad that Denny said, listen, you fucking get me somebody good or I'm not doing the play. So Bob Falls auditioned me and he kept on going on and I didn't want to do it. And I kept on getting these calls. Bob Falls calls me home. Richenthal, Bernie Telsey calls me home. It's like, for what, the understudy, the part guys. And that was the reason, because Denny, he knew that Kevin Anderson was going to miss half the shows. Now, he didn't miss one show because he wins the Tony, he wins the Outer Critics Circle, he wins the Drama Desk. He just is loving it. 1,000 people are giving him a standing ovation every night. They're taking him out for drinks. So I had a friend, an Italian guy, and he said to me, listen, you haven't gone on yet, and your contract's going to be up pretty soon, and you're really not going to do it? And I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm really not going to do it. So he goes, I said, Kevin goes out and he runs up and down the street before that scene when he's out of breath coming into the bar lounge with the prostitute. There's a scene, I don't know how well you know it, but Death the Salesman, there's a scene there. So he gets tired because he runs up and down the street on Broadway. What I can do is I can really, and I'll do this for you, David, I can get a bat and I can just like hit him in the legs. And yeah, he'll be gone for a while, but you could have a couple weeks. And I said, that's a pretty good idea, but I really just can't do that. So we never did that. Kevin never missed a show.
Into the Tanya Hardy.
When it comes down to the end here, they don't even audition me. They audition Ron Elder, Michael O'Keefe, this guy, that guy, and I was pissed. And I went to Richenthal because they were going to bring in Ron Elder. Just Ron Elder got the part. Ron Elder didn't know his lines. He was doing another play off-Broadway. He came in, didn't know his lines. He wasn't going to go on. Brian Denny was furious. He's like, this guy doesn't even know his lines. Get David, blah, blah, blah. So they call me up. They call my agent. I'm saying, and I said to them, listen, I didn't even get an audition. I'm not doing it. And Bob Cole was the general manager. He goes, whatever David wants, we'll give him. And I said, I wanted the part. So I went in to see David Richenthal. And I said, David, here's what you said to me. You said, as far as I'm concerned, you have the part. And I don't even get a fucking audition? What's that about? His response was, you are completely right. I am completely wrong. So I said, so how can I stay? And I left, and I did a play called Avenue A for no money down in my little 60-seat theater, and I could have been on for 2 weeks, being Death of a Salesman, getting a standing ovation. Instead of one night, me and Dennehy, Brian Dennehy was a great guy. We'd go out for scotch, we'd get drunk. He just loved me. But I never went on, and he's like, oh, I can't wait till you go. But I never went on. So then the last day he sees me, and he sees me going, I'm into Eugene O'Neill, and I'm way on top because I'm the understudy, and I'm on the 5th floor, and I'm walking down the stairs because he's in the wings waiting for his curtain call. And there he is. He looks at me and goes, Mogentale, I hear you're fucking leaving me. And I said, yeah, I'm doing my own stuff. All you guys have your little theaters, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I want to do that, blah, blah. He goes, well, I wish you a lot of luck, shakes my hand, goes on stage to a standing ovation. I make a left, go out into the outdoor, and a bum spits right in my face.
Wait, who?
True story. A bum spits right in my face. That's the juxtaposition between that going that way and that way. That's the juxtaposition, 5 seconds, and that's what happens.
Wow.
You love that story, huh?
Well, I mean, it's just, it tells you so much, man, about, like, can I ask you, the life of an understudy? When you, for 6 months, you did have, did you have to go to the theater every single time, wait backstage for the full play, or the first?
Well, here's the deal. I didn't want to do it so bad that I got concessions done, and then they didn't want to honor them, and they promised me that. So number one, I got a 6 month out. Nobody had a 6 month out. Right. So when that's the only reason they were in a bind. They actually had a guy who had no business being Biff because he played it in some little community theater, play the part for 2 weeks, and I went and saw it. And it was like, then he was like, I don't know how furious he was because I wasn't, but he was like, I mean, you have Brian Denny yelling down your face like that. 1,000 people paying $200 a ticket. You better know your stuff. And this guy, he knew his lines, but he was just a little guy, and he's Biff. And so anyway, at first I had to be there for a while until I learned my part. You only get to rehearsal like twice a week. You don't get to really rehearse the beginning at all because they're still rehearsing. So if something happens right away, they're very understanding. It's like, just go on the book, because I try to know my lines just like they did, but they were rehearsing. I was just sitting there. I would go over with my wife. I'd go over things, but it wasn't the same thing. And then once we get going and we know the lines and they trust me, I said to them, listen, I said this to Richmond, I said, listen, I'm going to work at Barney Greengrass my Saturday and Sunday. I'll do it. Finally, after the end, I'll do it. If I get Saturday and Sunday, I go to Barney's, be on a beeper. In those days, it was beepers, not cell phones. Be on a beeper, and the other days, I'll be there. So that's what they let me do. They let me work at Barney's, make a hell of a lot of money, as an understudy, and just be on call. Never got called. It was a little nerve-wracking. It's very nerve-wracking doing this understudy stuff because, like I said, 1,000 people, Brian Denny yelling you in the face. You know your lines, but do you really? When the lights go up and you're on stage like that, do you really? No one knows. I did True West after that, and the guy just choked. The understudy for the agent, Saul. Lights go up. There's there's John C. Reilly. There's him, and
we should actually let me time you out there just to explain that there was a revival of the Sam Shepard play True West, as you mentioned, with Philip Seymour Hoffman, John C. Reilly, and the thing was, every other day they would switch roles because it's about these
every third day.
Every third day.
Every third day.
They would do it the same way, and then they would literally take different characters 3 days later. So you had to be ready to understudy the whole play.
Both parts, both ways.
Yeah.
Different blocking, too. Not the same blocking. Each character had different blocking. So when I did, listen, my agent's got to stick up for me more. When I auditioned for that one, they gave it to me like right away because I had done Death the Salesman, even though I never went on, but they didn't care. I had the imprimatur there. You know what I'm saying? I had the imprimatur. So I go in there and I get the part, and they want it both. You have to go both parts both ways. And I said to my agent, I got to get paid more money than anybody but the 2 stars. She goes, David, there's 4 people in the cast. You're not getting paid more than the agent and the mom did. I said, well then, and I said again, you got to stick up for yourself. The only power an actor has is to say no. I said, well, I'm not doing it. I don't need to do it. I don't care. And she said, okay, I'll ask him. She calls up Roy Gabay, calls him up. David, you got it. You're making more than anybody but the 2 leads. I said, well, I should. I'm understanding both people both ways.
Right. Yeah, you should get double understudy pay, right? You're doing.
Never went on.
Yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman says to me, "You're never going." No, actually, in the dress, that was an experience. I wasn't promised anything, so it was fine. I did my 6 months. I was fine. I made my money. I was there. That play, I didn't have to be there. I only had to be there twice a week because the stage manager trusted me. He saw what I did. He saw me knowing everything. He showed up. I was there. He got, David, just come see each person each way. So I'd do that. Other times I was down in my theater. I didn't have to be there. But they basically, I don't know why they're like this. Sam Shepard, was always somebody that I idolized, that I wanted to meet. Well, that was, I think, his first Broadway show. It might have been Barry Child before that, but no, maybe Barry Child. Maybe this was his second. I don't know. But Matthew Warchus came up to me before we started rehearsal, right when we were starting, and said, David, here's what we're going to do. you're not going to be in the room with those guys. You're going to just learn your lines in a separate room. I said, what? I said, what's that about? I don't know. That's just the way it wants to be done. And I've never got an answer to this day. My feeling is that they were kind of, and this, I laugh at this, but they were intimidated by me being in a room with those two. And again, Philip Seymour Hoffman was not Philip Seymour Hoffman quite at that time, but he was known. And John C. Reilly was known. They were both stars, not as big as they became. So I actually just was in a room learning my lines, and I knew my lines. I said, so assistant stage manager, okay, I'm done. I'm going to leave. 2 hours later, I got paid more than anybody but the two stars. That was down in my theater doing all the producing stuff, doing all this other stuff. And then I would get fitted for a costume, and John C. Reilly said, what are you getting fitted for a costume for? I said, well, you never know. One of you might get hurt. He goes, we're never going to let you go on. I said, really? What if you break your ribs? And he goes, we're still going on. And actually, Philip Seymour Hoffman broke his rib, and he still went on.
Wow. And later on, of course, he killed himself. He only done it when you were understudying.
Yeah, if he only killed himself then, he was a great actor from what I saw in the part of True West, from seeing it a lot, obviously. But he was not a nice guy to me, at least. John C. Reilly, not a nice guy to me. And John C. Reilly, not the actor Philip Seymour Hoffman was.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I mean...
They weren't generous at all. I mean, I'm finally in dress rehearsal, and I got to see what they're doing, right? So they finally let me in like the third dress rehearsal second. And there I am in the back, and my wife had given me a little pen light that has a little light on it so I could write and try and get notes and stuff like that. Well, we're at the Circle in the Square Theater. It's theatering around. So it's, maybe I'm on, I don't know, maybe I'm on the 17th row in the back there. I got a call from Mr. David. Bill can see your pen light up there. Turn it off, please. Now, I would never do that if I was a big star. I'm sorry. But then again, I don't know. But, maybe I came from a whole different era where you just brutalize each other on stage and you lived at the theater and you just get the job done, where brutal theater lives. It was good. It's True West. But I think a part of it was they didn't want me to ever go on because they basically heard that I basically would have destroyed the set if I ever went on because they did it with no intermission. And I think they heard that I'm this kamikaze off-off-Broadway actor. I think I'm just trying to think why this was. So no intermission. And then they have the scene where you have the golf club and I'm like destroying everything. Well, they never know. Maybe when I go on, I get that golf club and I just put a dent in each cabinet. Boom, 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 and I can't get off stage. And there's John C. Reilly or Philip Seymour Hoffman, and then I look at them and then just see what they're going to do. And they didn't really know that I wouldn't do that because I don't even know if I wouldn't do that. So that would be my last Broadway experience if I ever did that. But just the idea, the guy who ran the lighting said, if you ever go on, I will be there and I cannot wait to see this.
Well, yeah.
And I never went on.
I mean, it's mentioned in the article about you in Tablet that part of your email address is Brutal Joe. And the 29th Street Rep motto was where brutal theater lives. I think you just said that, right?
That's right.
What was it that attracted you in forming that company that you wanted to do theater that wasn't just gritty, that wasn't just, not like Oscar Wilde, but that was like people slamming each other around and dirt bags and the darkest...
Yeah, well, I never saw a play until I was 23 or 24, and I played baseball and very athletic and stuff. Then I saw Steppenwolf do True West with Malkovich and Gary Sinise. Then I saw Steppenwolf do Orphans with Kevin Anderson, and it's funny because then Kevin Anderson and with Terry Kinney it was, and John Mahoney. And I thought, this is what I want to do. This is what, because I was so stupid when I got out of college. Yeah, I had a degree, but I didn't want to have a business, and I just wanted to be like a famous soap opera actor, that's why, and I was so stupid. And then once I got into it and studied it, I really wanted to do that kind of stuff. But nothing was appealing to me hardly. Then I saw them do that when I was first starting and said, that is what I want to do. Now, they had already got the market on that a little bit, but we did just as maybe more brutal. No, but in the early years of Steppenwolf, we probably were about the same. I'd try and pick brutal plays, but the key is to pick good brutal plays. Yeah, there's True West, good. There's Killer Joe, good. There's High Priest of California, which is not even a known play, but good play, psychologically brutal. Other plays, Belly of the Beast, brutal. but it had to be a good play. I couldn't just get a. So I had just read so many plays, and you got to remember, I never even went to a play till I was 23. But every day I read plays. I had Mary Shen Barnage out in Chicago, one of my friends. She would always recommend. She recommended Killer Joe to me.
Like Mary Shen Barnage has been on this program a few times. I've known her probably longer than you've known her. She is quite a close critic friend, and she's on the hit. I mean, you know what happened to her about?
She had some kind of hip thing.
She had a what do you call a septic thing that just ran through her system and laid her low. And yeah, it's been more than a year. She's even gone to the theater. She's lucky to be alive, quite honestly.
I didn't know that because we usually corresponded, but I haven't heard from her in a while. So that's probably what happened.
Drop her an email because she's been out of commission for a very long time with illness. But oh God, no, we love Mary. Mary is. I didn't realize that she turned you on to Killer Joe.
She's the one. She's the one. She was writing in some paper, maybe it was the Reader, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It was back in 1993. And she said, "This is a play. You should do this play." Went to Chicago with my brother. 20 people in the audience in North Evanston, Illinois. The next theater. Not even the next theater. It was the next theater lab. 34 seats, maybe 50, 40. I don't know seats. Maybe 12 people were in the audience. It was a cold winter night. We saw Killer Joe with Michael Shannon and no one else you'd really know, I think. Michael Shannon and the cast of Killer Joe, and me and my brother went. My brother said, "That was unreal." We go out, have a drink, we go to sleep, we have nightmares about that play. I said, I'm gonna do that play. He goes, "That was unreal." There was only 12 people in the audience, but that was a magical moment on finding that play.
And not only did you find it and direct it, you starred as Crazy Joe.
I didn't direct it. No, I didn't direct it. Wilson, we brought the guy from Chicago to direct it. I played Killer Joe.
Yeah.
And, we had to get the rights to it. And then there was some buzz to do it in Edinburgh. But I got the rights right before that. Then they wanted to do it in Edinburgh. So I could have said no, but I said, yeah, you can do it in Edinburgh. But once it went to Edinburgh, then everybody wanted to do it on the West End. But they couldn't because we had the rights to it. And Tracy was pissed. He's like, I said, "No, Tracy, we had the rights. I came out. I found the first. I had the rights. That's all it is to it." So we did it, and then after we did it, then he it ran for 3 months. You saw it. Did you see it at the theater? Did you see Killer Joe at the theater?
I'm pretty sure I saw it at the 29th Street Rep the first time.
Because they did it 4 years later with Scott Glenn.
I saw that too. That was when I saw you in it. I know that.
You saw me in it at my theater,
mm-hmm.
And that's the version that they kept on theater on film and tape. They didn't even keep Scott Glenn and Michelle Williams and Michael Shannon version.
I saw that one. It was all right. I mean, I don't love to play the way you do. I don't love particularly brutal theater. It's not my thing. So I watched it. It was scary when you did it. More scary when you did it than when Scott did it. Honestly,
because you're in a little room.
Yeah. It was nice to see Michelle Williams naked, but okay, big deal. But I don't even like Bug that much. Letts is not my favorite playwright, but okay.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. I like there certain. I mean, it was a great that was a great thing just to find for me because it did go right up my alley, and it was very satisfying because I got to do a play that I actually found, did it. Every reviewer came. Vincent Canby came on the Sunday. We got every review. We were sold out every night. It really made it all worthwhile. All the bad stuff that goes through when you're getting a theater going and just the day-to-day thing. And, if you don't love it, you got to just do it. If you don't love it, don't do it. But damn, I would live there sometimes. And my wife was so understanding. It was like, no, just stay there. I know what it takes. She was a ballet dancer. So she said, just stay there and do what you have to do. And I did. And I worked at Barney's like just 2 days a week, Saturday and Sundays. I kept that job, and I've had it for 33 years. And that was being able to have that job and do the theater was just great. It was just a great two things that I had together.
So, first thing I'm curious about is you were doing Killer Joe off-off-Broadway. Was there a motion? Did you have a thing of maybe we can move this to an equity off-Broadway house?
Definitely. Everybody wanted us to move it. I had Darren is a friend of mine, Darren Lee Cole. I don't know if you know him. He runs the Soho Playhouse. He was going to move it, and he actually moved it there, but Tracy Letts didn't want us to. In that contract, it didn't say we could move it. So we got to 3 months. No one's getting paid. We're getting our equity stuff taken care. We're getting a pension in our health, but no one was getting paid. We eventually all got paid, but at first we didn't. But I made sure that we were going to get paid if we made money, and we did. We ended up making money on the back end because they did it off Broadway at a real theater. We were, charging like what, I don't know, in those days, $20 a ticket. Yeah. And it was tough. So we did it for 3 months, and people were getting tired. Christmas was coming, and we had to shut it down. And once we shut it down, Tracy was not going to let us open it up again because he saw the potential there, and he had his own company, quote unquote. It was one play that they did called Hired Gun Productions Presents Killer Joe, but that was their company. So he wanted his actors to be in it, or Scott Glenn and Michelle Williams, which ended up happening, but that took 4 years because we fought it. We wanted rights to it. We wanted to be a producer, and they fought us every step of the way. But I finally got what I wanted, even though none of us got to be in it. So, that's showbiz. Look at all the things. Look at the Broadway showbiz stuff. Look at the Killer Joe stuff. So if you don't love it, you do it because you love it. But still, all these near misses and all these things where you could have really had a huge career just never panned out. And maybe part of it is my own hubris, but just look at the example of not deciding not to do that for salesman. Could be, but I don't necessarily regret anything. It would have been nice to go on Broadway with 1,000 people giving you a standing ovation in the greatest American play of this century.
Yeah. Actually, you must have did you get to meet Arthur Miller?
Yes. I have met Arthur Miller twice. He came. When I auditioned, Arthur Miller was in the room. And we talked a little about baseball. He was a big baseball fan. We talked about that. He saw it on my resume that I played baseball. And I forget exactly what we talked about. But yeah, I met Arthur Miller. He must have died like about 3 years after that. This was in 99. I think he died, I don't know, I'm thinking if I had to guess, like 2002.
So here's another question about the 29th Street repertory that David Mogentale founded and ran for all those years. So you had a hit, a legitimate off-off-Broadway hit with Trader Joe's, eventually got paid, but then the years go on and not everything's a hit, and not even the hits aren't really making money. At what point did it become impossible to...
Well, what happened at the end was, and again, I love, we had done, and I had done every play I wanted to do. I'm sure other plays were going to come around the pipe, but I got to do Fool for Love for 6 months. I got to do, again, High Priest of California, which you don't know probably, but it's a Charles Willeford play. And Bruce Weber gave it the best off-Broadway for that year. It was the best. So I got to do a lot of stuff I wanted to do, and after a while it gets tiring. But that wasn't it. We lost our. It wasn't zoned right. It wasn't zoned right. And I said to the landlord, she said, "Listen, there's a bad bathroom. The fan is bad." And I can't get the zoning right because the fan, they got to fix it, and they got to fix something in the bathroom. I said, Stacy, don't do it. They're going to come in here and see this is a theater. They've never come in before, and they're going to shut us down. So I got to do it. So sure enough, they come in one day, and I'm there in the office, and we got to check the fan. And then they come in and look at me, and they say, what is this place? And I said, we just do like workshops. I just do a little monologue work. And said, this is a theater. Wait a second. This is a theater, and you don't even have an exit in the back. You don't have 2 egresses. I said, oh, really? Well, I just have a couple people here. We just do. No, come. You're going to shut this down sooner or later. I mean, maybe you can go another couple years, but you're going to get notices now, and we're going to so shit. So that's what happened. We shut it down because it would have been $300,000 to make a hole on the back end over the fire escape. So I said, and it was about time too. Living there and doing this day in and day out was great fun in a way, but again, great. You miss out on a lot in your life, but I'm kind of driven in one thing, so it was okay, but it just ran its course, and I wanted to make money acting instead of having to sweep floors and stuff and make no money acting. So it ended up that I started doing other stuff, and I was into some video games. I did Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm going to do Grand Theft Auto 6, and I got to do some other things. And I got to do True West at the Pittsburgh Public. I played Lee at the Pittsburgh Public, which was a great experience. I mean, I knew the part. I went there, I auditioned, I knew it, so they boom away, and you got the part, and I was there, a 700-seat theater, and I'm from Pittsburgh. That was a coincidence. So my mom saw it, my friends saw it. It was a great experience. I actually got paid money and didn't have to sweep the floor afterwards and check the box office and worry about how much money we have coming in and see who's coming in. I would actually, at 29th Street, be on stage and, I'd be on stage. Oh, shit, that guy came in late. Oh, is he going to get a seat? I'm thinking that to my head. That's what it comes down to. Now, it didn't really affect my acting. I don't know why. I used to have Patrick Hoffman, who runs Lincoln Center, he taped like 7 or 8 of our things. He goes, David, it's like 15 minutes before you got to go on, and you're not even nervous. You're like looking at the seats covered, or do you have the papers down for the reviewers, blah, blah, blah. I said, I know, that's my thing. I got to do it. He goes, yeah, but you don't even get nervous. Just like go on. I said, you know what? Preparing is overrated in acting. You just do a couple push-ups and go on stage.
Well, for your kind of theater, maybe. For Chekhov, well, maybe for Chekhov too. Maybe the way you would do
Chekhov. I don't know about Chekhov. See, that's not my thing. But the plays I do, just get the adrenaline going. Yeah. Just get it going, and then let's get me on stage and let me go at it.
What role have you played? Because you're obviously a big, burly, voluble, energetic guy. What role have you played that is the least like you? Like the one that we would be surprised if you were cast in.
I would say probably the last play we did, The Conversation. I played the part Gene Hackman played in the film. We did the New York premiere of the stage version of The Conversation. Yeah. And Gene Hackman is more of a guy who's introverted, doesn't create, thinks is introspective, and it kind of destroys his psyche at the end of that great story. That's probably the one that's the least like me. I had to do a lot less and just keep it all internal. I would say that was probably the one.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, a way that you get to act, and have been for 30-something years, when you, have this reputation as big boy, as the waiter at Barney Greengrass,
yes.
Are you playing the role of the old-time, grumpy Jewish deli waiter, or is it you? Or is it somewhere in between?
No, it's kind of morphed. When I started, I was so exhausted from my theater stuff that I just wanted to make my money and get out of there. So I had a little bit more of an edge. Now I don't have to worry about, I'd be worried about, damn, did they get the set made yet? That guy come? Did he actually put it together? And all these things. So I was a little more worried about that and not worried about the customers. Now it's more of a show. And I think that's my personality too. It's kind of like maliciously seductive, that's my style, chillingly charismatic, I guess. So I'm gruff, but I'm very funny. So that does lend itself to the Jewish waiter mentality. Even though that's me, it is the old, a bygone era. And again, the article says that, a bygone era of the old Jewish waiter who says, there's a fly in my soup. Well, I don't know what I forget what the joke is.
We charge extra for that.
There. Yeah. And I have my own style about it. I like, we sell hats there. I have my shtick. Here's my hat. I put my hat on. I go like, I go and I just yell to I say, hey, we're selling these hats. They glow in the dark. Only 4 left. Now you might not look as handsome as me because it brings out the aqua in my eyes, but you'll look very handsome. Look how handsome I look with it on, and look when I take it off, how unhandsome I look. You could be the same guy. Stuff like that. I don't take myself seriously at all. It's just about making money, but it's also about, creating a good vibe, having people have fun. The food sells itself. It's so good, so simple, and they love me more or less. I mean, I'm not kidding myself. If you go to Yelp, you'll see a lot of some reviews about how brutal I am, and the waiter thinks he knows everything, trying to tell me what to do, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, but most of them are like positive, like that he made the experience, blah, blah, blah. So, but some people hate me, but that's the way it is with charisma. Some people are going to hate you, and a lot of people are going to like you.
Now, have you ever said something really insulting that maybe you want to take back, or you didn't? Like some guy was a jerk.
Yeah, well, this is a mistake. Yeah, sure. There was once there was a woman who was kind of big, a big woman, and I said to her, "So when's oh, hi, how you doing, sweetie? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. When's the baby? When's the baby due? Blah, blah, blah." She said, "I'm not pregnant." That was bad.
I've done that.
I mean, up to mistake on me. I mean, but I've just said that. Even today, there was a person, and it's so tight there, and they're at the count, and I had to tell her, I said, sweetie, you got to move a little bit because, I mean, there's boxes, and it's getting to be Yom Kippur, and so she moves a little bit. I said, not there, right there. So she gets pissed at me. Well, you know what? I'm trying to get food. I said, I know, but I got to come back and forth like 20 times, and you got your purse hanging there. And, well, you know what? I don't care. And so we got into a big, not a big fight, but we got into it. I said, no, look, take your purse, put it on top of the box, and just wait for it there. Then we'll be fine. But I'm coming back and forth there. So you get pissed at me because I hit your purse? I'm sorry. I'm a big guy. I have massive shoulders. You got to, like, you know.
All right. Wow. So the customer isn't always right.
Not at Barney Greengrass. Barney Greengrass, I've been there so long that I am a tremendous asset. As Gary's, I'm a tremendous asset no matter if I brutalize the customers or not. Maybe even more than I brutalize the customers because other people see how awesomely brutal I am. Gary's dad, who was Mo, who's dead now, 2002, he'd go to the customers, they'd come and complain about me, and he'd go, darling, there's thousands of you, there's one of him. And that's all. So, you know.
Beautiful.
Now, Gary's not really like that as much. He's more neurotic. And I mean, you know what, David? You know what, big boy? You know what? You're dangerous. You're dangerous. You can say something. Like, I'll say to someone, and maybe I am dangerous in the world of, you know, DEI and whatever, all these woke things. Maybe I am dangerous. I'd say, what's your name? I say, the big boy. And they say, why do they call you the big boy? And I say, because I have a big tinkle. Now, you know, David, it's just going to take one person. It's just going to take one person. That's all it's going to take.
Yeah.
True, but I can't help myself, and I've still made it up to 30.
You can't. I mean, in this day and age, I mean,
it's very funny. I have a big tinkle. They know what it means. I just say it straight out.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say something much worse. Yeah.
Big hands. Oh, really? Sometimes I'll just say big hands.
Big hands, big glasses, big. Yeah. Oh man. So, do you think you'll do? Because you've been moving away from acting. Well, you're doing Grand Theft Auto, but do you think you'll do theater again?
Yeah, you know what? I don't even go to the theater anymore. And I used to see so many plays. I just, you know, after COVID especially, I just don't go anymore. So I am getting away from theater. I don't even know if I would ever want to do theater unless it be something that I really love. But how many opportunities, to be honest with you, whenever you do plays in New York, off-Broadway even, Playwrights Horizons or I don't know,
Vineyard or yeah.
You're not even going to get. I'm not even going to get a shot at those parts. I've had some credits, but not what I need from Yale School of Drama and all these other things. I mean, I'd have an easier chance getting a Broadway part, a small part, as opposed to getting a nice part off Broadway. And a lot of these plays, I'm just not crazy about. I don't know. So I'm okay with not doing a play again. I'm okay with just having fun doing a voiceover gig, doing a guest star on a TV show. That's okay. I did the plays. I did 25 of them at the theater. I did other plays, and I enjoyed it completely, and I immersed myself in it. And I didn't come from a theater background. I didn't come from an artistic background. So what I accomplished in my life, I know I really did a lot, and I'm very proud of what I did.
Now, let me ask you, David. To look at you, we think you were like a boxer, bruiser. I mean, you were a baseball player, right? You're certainly an athlete, but you overcame a pretty heavy, a couple of tragedies actually in your life. One of your own, and one of, the life you were talking about before. So, first of all, how are you feeling? Are you?
Well, I had cancer. Oh man, I've had a life. It's almost like you don't even believe that I've actually had this life. But I got cancer in 2001. We were preparing for Full for Love, and I couldn't breathe. And it's a very physical play, and I couldn't breathe, and I thought I had maybe pneumonia or something. So I finally went a week before we opened down to St. Vincent's, which is no longer there, and got checked. And they said, "You have a mass on your chest, like 8 centimeters long." And I thought, damn. And so they're going to have to maybe operate. I don't know what it was. And they did a biopsy and said, it's cancer. You have cancer. So they did some more tests. Next day, I started chemo at Sloan Kettering that week. I went to St. Vincent's at first. They gave me the wrong chemo. Then I went to Sloan Kettering. And whenever you think of having cancer and you think about it as being a child, let's say, and I used to think of that and just think of a nightmare if I would actually get cancer, the actual experience of it is way worse than even the thought of it. That's how bad it was. I mean, people would die left and right. I'd be in this room. I'd be getting chemo for I got more chemo than my doctor said that he's given anybody, that he thinks anybody's ever gotten. Now, I don't know if that's true. I'm sure it's not. But he said, if we get it, we have a chance. You have a chance of living, but your chances is less than 50-50. And if it comes back, you're dead. So I said, what do you want to do? A bone marrow transplant because your brother's a complete match, or do you want to do the chemo for 5 years? And I was like, well, if I do the chemo and then it comes back, I can always do the bone marrow. And he goes, no, you'll be so weak. I'm going to give you so much chemo that you could die from the chemo. So I did the chemo. I was insulin cutting 4 months out of the first 6. It got a little better after it went on, but not really that much better. I did plays. The next year I did full up for 6 months, but I was doing such heavy doses of chemo. Prednisone that they give you was so high dosage. I stayed up for, basically, no one believes this, but I only slept 2 hours in one whole week. They gave me so much prednisone. I remember when Barry Bonds hit his 73rd home run, I was up at like 2 in the morning and I couldn't sleep. I remember that was that week. And so I just, I finally got through. It was a miracle I got through it. And again, my wife helped me so much that she gave me on a macrobiotic diet. She cooked for me. I had an angel on earth, my wife. I mean, she's been gone now 8 years, but damn, the good experiences I've had, she was the best experience I've ever had. And I get emotional now just thinking of it. 8 years later, but grief's a bitch. And my dad passed away. My mom's still alive. My dad passed away. I didn't even cry. And I love my dad. My wife passed away. And look, I get emotional 8 years later. Grief's a bitch. People don't tell you that. Someone you love. I mean, some people want their wife to die and they're, I guess, happy deep down, even though they feel guilty about it. But some people who love their spouse and it happens to them, they better hope that they both die together at 95 years old in the same bed, because it's not going to happen that way. And the rest of your life, grief is going to be a bitch, but no one tells you that.
Do you? I
How many years you been married?
Insulting, or I'm sorry, what?
How many years you been married?
26, or is it 27?
Okay.
Yeah,
well, you know what? And you love your wife?
Yes, I do.
Well, you know what? Hopefully,
and I would be very upset if she got
95.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll die together. But you know what? Treasure her every day, because it goes in an instant.
But do you ever see yourself? Do you date? Would you ever have you at?
No one goes out with me. I'm too broad. No one goes out there. I'm so honest and stuff. Number one, I went on dating sites for a while. I got banned from 2 of them. I got banned from from OkCupid and Tinder. You know why? I got banned. They wouldn't let me on them anymore.
Why? What did you say? What did you?
Okay. The first one, I'll give you. Okay, I think you got to get 3 strikes and you're out. I don't know, but okay. Give you an example. The first one, the woman comes in. We're gonna go to Samba Sushi or whatever. So I go, meet me halfway. She lives in the Bronx. I live here on 75th Street on the west side. So we meet in 170th Street. I don't know. So we go there. I'm at the bar. I said, I'm at Sushi Shamba. She says, I'm at Samba Sushi. I said, it's 2 different places. I goes, well, it's okay. I'm only $20 away, blah, blah. I say, well, get a cab and come here. So her first response is, well, can you pay for the cab? And I said, okay, I'm at the bar. I'll pay for the cab. I just pay him the guy, and I'll pay him when he gets it. So I get her, and she comes in. We have dinner, a little bit, not real dinner, but we have appetizers, drinks. It comes to like $200. So at the end of it, she goes, I'm pay for play, don't you? And I said, you know what? I have nothing against pay for play, but you got to tell me that before we start. So you're fucking paying half of this. So I grab her. So she tries to leave. Grab her purse and say, no, you sit down and you give me half the money now. So it was a bad scene. It was all people of color instead of me, let's just say. And it didn't end too well. So that was one strike that she called it. But still, I'm right about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's not right, okay?
Oh, no, it's not. But Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and the second one, I'm trying to give you examples of what happened. So the second one, the woman, she was a manager, general manager at the Marriott and stuff. We went to Joe Allen's, and it was a really good time. She comes and we're going to go out again. And so I said, listen, you know what? I'll take you on one of those boat things around the tip of Manhattan, those or Adirondack cruise. It was like this time of year. It was nice fall day. Adirondack cruise. We go around tip of Manhattan. I'm going to have dinner. We'll have dinner at the Red Cat. Red Cat was a great place. Used to be on 22nd and 10th Avenue. Then we'll go and have the boat thing, blah, blah, blah. So she goes, I don't go for work until 6. I said, it's okay. I'll have a martini. I'll wait for you at the bar. Whatever. It's no rush. So she finally calls me and says, okay, I'm done. And she lived on 34th and 12th. and the red cat was on 22nd and 12th.
Oh.
And I said, okay, we'll come. And she says to me, and it was after a few other experiences. She goes to me, do you have Uber? And I said, yeah, do you? So she goes, yeah, well, can you get me an Uber? And blah, blah. I said, I said, you can get your own Uber. And I didn't say this, but I'm paying for everything else. Just get your own fucking Uber. So she says, get me an Uber. And I said, I'm not your bitch and never will be. And I ended that one. And then she, I think, probably texted them up or something. And there was another strike. And there was another couple examples. But let's just say that I don't know what it was. It wasn't me. It was them, that they were just not honest. They were, most of them are hookers. The ones that aren't hookers, I don't know. I mean, I went out. I mean, just
wow. Okay, I'm so glad I'm married.
Yeah, I'm telling you what. As my daddy said, there are 3 things better to rent than to buy: if it can fly, float, or fuck. Okay, remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
As Charlie Sheen says, you pay him to leave. That's where I go now.
This is a very strange segue, but how is your mom? Because you said your mom is still
93. She's kind of wacky. She looks great for 93. My mom was a gorgeous woman when she was young. Looked kind of like, I can tell you, she looked like kind of like Marilyn Monroe with Grace Kelly undertones. And she was 93 now. And, aging beauty is kind of hard to go through, because you still think that guys are wanting to molest you and stuff, and they really aren't, but she thinks they are. So she'll say that, look, the guy came in, the guy who's sweeping the floor, he tried to do stuff with me the other day, and I wouldn't let him. And she's always been like that, but it's very funny that she's like that. I'm just trying to show a picture of her, but here we go. But it's very funny that she's like that. Here's my mom. Even when she's like 40 something in this picture.
Look at my glasses. Wait, can you hold it a little? All we're seeing is reflection from higher up. You have to hold it to the lens. She looks cute, I gotta say.
Yeah, she was a cutie pie.
Yeah.
That's just her. You see that?
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And here's her during Christmas. Right? Pretty girl, pretty woman. Very nice, very great mother. Great sense of humor. Great. She's great. She still has her mind. She can't walk. She had a stroke. I try and visit her as much as I can. I just visited her in August for her birthday, and my brother did. But she's going to be gone one of these days soon, and it's I kind of would maybe want someone with me who's at least loves me. But it's so good. I had someone who adored me, and I don't know why she adored me so much, because she definitely loved me more than I loved. Usually in a relationship, someone loves the other person more than the other person loves them. I loved her, but she adored me. I don't know why. I mean, yeah, I'm okay looking. I'm pretty funny, but I don't have really any that much money and stuff, but she just adored me. So, love is blind, but we had a great relationship.
Lucky that you had her for the years that you had her.
I am so thankful, but it's funny because my apartment, I don't even change my apartment. I'm the type, I leave everything the same. If my wife came here 8 years later, all she'd see is my new Lazy Boy easy chair that I can watch my games with, and
Oh man. Wow. So what I would like to ask before we let Dave Mogentale go is, favorite all-time moment doing a play at 29th Street? Like was there a day that it all came together, or maybe some icon came to watch the show and then you got to meet them?
I would say, some of the most, I would say, I remember a play. I mean, I'm trying to think. There's probably other examples, but I did a play called Bobby Supreme there, where it was about the most shocking stand-up comic that ever lived. The opening monologue was me having sex with a dead. Not really, but the monologue was about me having sex with a dead woman. That was the opening monologue. So, it was. We tried to be more. Play written by J.B. Miller was trying to be the most shocking comic, and that's hard to do. So we had, now, I mean, maybe they'd even close us down, but we would have jokes on anti-Jew, we'd go, people would, so I remember I was doing the stand-up thing, and people would just leave. Like,
Wow.
5 people would just leave. So I remember I would just go, I'd walk down, and the theater, it was like, you go in the back, you walk down 1 flight of stairs, and then you're out on the ground floor at 29th Street, because it was 1 flight up. So I remember one time, I'd be in character still, and they would just rudely leave, Bobby Supreme. So they'd be down the stairs, and I'd walk down the stairs, during the play, I'd walk through the lobby, go down the stairs, and start saying brutal stuff right as Bobby Supreme, like stuff that I came up with that was tremendously witty, but I don't remember what I said at the time, depending on what they said. Come all the way back upstairs, the stairs, shut the door, come back on stage, and the audience would give me like a standing ovation just because I actually went after him like that. It was a great start to the play, and it was always something that I remembered thoroughly. So that was, I'd say, one example of. There were so many. I mean, but that was one example of something that was we still. Whenever I see Tim, who ran the theater with me, or Leo Farley, or other people, and we talk about old theater stuff, we always talk about things like that. It's a bond that you'll never lose. That what we had, even though we might have different, political beliefs, we don't see each other. We had something that was great, and we made it ourselves. And none of us had a lot of money or anything. We all had to work, and we just were there. And we had a landlord who didn't overcharge us rent, and we could rent it out when we weren't doing a play. And we kept our flats, and we kept our props, and we reused them. And we had really good production values for a little theater like that. And it was amazing what we did. I mean, who does that now in New York? I don't know.
Yeah,
you can't. You can probably, especially after COVID. You could probably get some cheap places. But, you can. But I was an animal. I would live there. My whole life, all I cared about waking up every morning was getting down there and finding a play, getting down there and doing the work that it took to do it, getting down there and rehearsing my part. Even when I wasn't in it, I would be down there all the time. And again, I had a backup system with a wife, with a job that lend itself perfectly for what I got to do. And I made people, and I just bullied other people in the theater to do stuff. That's what I actually ended up doing. Some of them were into it. We're into it good. But a lot of other ones were and I just had to bully them.
Well, yeah, you are I remember even back then, that played into the characters you play, because you just had that menacing sort of, and you weren't directed, but something about you was just kind of like, whoa. So let me ask you, last question for David Mogentale. Give us a tip or two. What is the best thing to order at Barney Greengrass?
Well, that's a good question. Now, if you come in again, you're not going to have to sell your trinkets like you were saying when you first came in a couple months ago, because I'll take care of you. Just let me know when you want to come in. You got my phone number? Well, come in, and you got to pay for one thing. I'll give you everything else for free. Come in with your wife. I'd like to meet her. What you should do is start with potato latkes, especially in the morning when they're first made. Later in the day, they get a little old, and they they re-put them in the oven, not as good. Get there around like 9, 10. Get the latkes. They're heavenly. So you get the latkes. Then what you do is, it's a fish place, even though the pastrami is very good, but it's not as good as Katz's. But I love the herring and cream sauce at Barney's is the best herring and cream sauce of any place. I've been to all of them. I'm not a Jew, but I love herring and cream sauce. I've been to Murray's. I've been to downtown. What's the one on Houston? I don't know. But anyway.
That's Sam's. Well, I forgetting the name.
Well, I've been to that one. I've been to all of them. Zabar's herring cream sauce at Barney's is so good. And you should take some home in the jar. They have those little old school glass jars. So good. I even take some home now, 33 years later. And then what I would say is I love the sable. Sable is my favorite fish.
Yeah.
Codfish, black codfish. It's so expensive now because the Japs use it all for their sushi. So I like sable even more than sturgeon. The sturgeon, after COVID, sometimes it's great and sometimes it's rubbery. I don't know what happened after COVID, but it's not always so good. Now, you said it was so good, your time good for you. And the sable is always good. It's more fishy. You know what sable tastes like? More fishy, more oily, but it's just heavenly. It's great with butter and onion. So what I would do is probably if you're by yourself, I'd get a one side, maybe Nova or gravlax. We make our gravlax there. It's cured, not
So it was sick.
You
and
don't
then
smoke our own stuff. You can't. It's illegal. We go to one of the smokehouses in Brooklyn to get it, Banner or Acme. But the gravlax, we press it. We put vodka. We put dill. We put salt, pepper, and we press it for a couple days, and it becomes cured. So maybe one side gravlax, one side stable, cream cheese, tomato, onion, capers on a bialy or maybe an everything bagel. If your wife is there, someone's there, maybe I'd cut the sable in half so you'd have 4 halves, and you could try each one yourself. That might be enough. Maybe if you're a little bit more adventurous, maybe you get a Nova sable. Maybe I'd see if the sturgeon's good. I'd get a sturgeon sable and whitefish salad platter. That's enough for 2 people. It comes with 2 bagels. It's a platter. You make this sandwich yourself. So, and then at the end, if you still have room, I'd get the blintzes. The blintzes.
Oh, I will have room. I will have room. There's no question. I will have room. For blintzes, yes.
Yeah, you have blintzes. They're made with farmer cheese, sugar. They roll them. They make them in the thing. They roll them up. They broil. They put them under the broiler, and then you put powdered sugar on them, some sour cream, and some jam, and those are great.
Oh.
And then you're good. You make sure you get fresh OJ. The OJ is squeezed fresh every day. It's ice cold. It's so good. I can't tell you. Everybody seems to love the coffee, even though I think it's okay, but nothing special. We have no espresso, but that's what you should have right there.
Yeah. I'm. The fact is, I didn't get to mention that my wife is a vegetarian, but it doesn't matter because I will eat all of everything you said and leave her.
If you eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she can have the blintzes.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm a potato pancake. So
the potato pancakes.
Yeah. So she's fine, and then I would just shovel sable and Nova and gravlax into my raw.
Into your pellet. Yeah, that would be good. You'd love that, Dave. We'll come in sometime.
I would love
you got my number? So can I give you my number on here? I gotta wait until we're off here.
Oh no! This is gonna be.
Oh, that's right. They don't call me. They call me because I'm so charismatic that they just can't wait.
So I think I mentioned I'm in Baltimore now, but I get to once or twice a year. So when I am in New York, I will. When you're
okay.
Yes.
Is Baltimore as bad as they say it is?
Well, we live in Northern. We live.
Okay, so you're okay.
Not in the place where we die every day. Yeah, no, we live in a nice. And you know what? Baltimore itself is not as bad as they say it is. So it's actually got some really, really cool stuff going on. So, but anyway, I'm thrilled that you're still a New Yorker, that you're serving unbelievable food that I am drooling for, and that we have such a great history of theater, of my senior stuff, and us talking together, a relationship that will continue as long as you can feed me. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to David Mogentale. Are you going to write your memoirs or something so people can read a book or something?
Do I have enough material for a book? I probably do.
Yeah.
I was thinking of doing a one-person show about my life. From that article, make it a little more dramatic, and I could flesh it out, and I could make it dramatic. But I'm always thinking no one's really going to care. Not that many people are going to care about it. I mean, what I say is that you see so many people. I mean, compared to other people, how interesting am I on a scale of 1 to 10 compared to all your other guests? I don't know.
I think from the stories that you've told, the celebrities that you've dealt with, the job that you have now. I mean, there was a guy on my show a couple of years ago, Brad Zimmerman, and his whole thing is My Son the Waiter. And his whole show is about, in a very funny way, his life as a waiter. I think you've got a show in you.
Really? So scale 1 to 10, where am I on the scale of your guests in terms of interesting? Be honest.
Well, I will be honest that there's technical difficulties. Your voice has been okay, but we've had some patchy internet. So therefore, you've been kind of.
Well, don't worry about that. Yeah. That we can't help.
No, I would say that you're somehow you're more energetic and like in your than even I am, and I'm pretty so. It's like type A's going at each other.
Right.
So I'd say you're in the 8.5 to 9 range.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, you're not quite at Robin Hitchcock level, who had these brilliant phrasing sort of things that he would do.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a wordsmith. I'm not like a John Lithgow. You're right. I'm not who's like Hitchens, like Christopher Hitchens.
Oh no.
Those guys are tremendous. I just put it out there. I hope I talk too fast too, so they're not even going to know what I said.
Yeah, so with the technical difficulties and the fast talking, there were things that I missed, and maybe our viewers will miss. But you've been a pretty fabulous guest, especially with the promise of some semi-free food coming at me in the near future.
Right.
You're that moves you to a 9.5, right there.
Okay. Well, you fix those glitches.
Coming into this mouth.
You get the free food. You fix those glitches for me.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Yes.
Great to see David Mogentale in the Daverhood. Health to you, happiness, good things, good food. Good to see you. Thank you for being with us.
Bye, buddy. All right.
Bye. Oh, shalom, my friends. Are you as hungry as I am right this second, hearing all about the sable and the sturgeon and the sterble? Ah, what good things to hear from David Mogentale about Barney Greengrass. I'm not doing a commercial for them. I am just licking their bag. But no, that's not what I'm doing. I am Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And what a thrill and a delight it is for me to be here on this Shabbos morning, September 28, 2024, to share a story with you in time for the holidays. Because, my friends, Shana Tova to you. In just a couple of days, it will be the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, the Jewish New Year. So you've got the Goyim, the Shiksas and the Shagitzes, they have a new year, January 1st, boom, 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 33 years after Jesus was born or died or some crap like that. But no, the Jewish New Year goes way back 5,500 years. Plus, just to be difficult, Jews do their calendars in a different way, where sometimes we have 12 months and sometimes we have 13 or 14 months. It all depends on the rotation, not of the earth around the sun, but about the moon. We'll be looking at the moon and the moon is full, the moon's not full, the moon's full, the moon's not full. 12 and a half months is a year. It's not. There's 2 months with the same name. There's like a little one, a little two. What? I don't know. I just know that at some point in the autumn, Rosh Hashanah rolls around and it's time for a Jewish New Year, which we celebrate. We're celebrating already harvest time. We're celebrating, well, in Israel and Bethlehem and Babylonia, there's not such a change of season. There's like, it's 86 degrees instead of 87. Must be winter. But still, we enjoy this. It's a time of renewal, of refreshment, of repurposing ourselves that ultimately leads, of course, to Yom Kippur, where we drain ourselves of our sins, we hope, where we say, I'm sorry, slicha, I'm sorry I did this, I'm sorry I did that. I'm not really sorry I did that, but I'm going to say I'm sorry I did that. This is what we do, and then we get to the sukkahs and all these other things. But it is the start of the high holy day season. And I say, hi, holy days! So we have our candle out. And ladies and gentlemen, in order to celebrate the coming of the new year, what better time than to do a story time segment? Now, usually Dave will do the segment. He'll be reading from a book about anything that happens to catch his eye. If he sees it in the library, if he sees a book lying in the gutter, he has done this, he'll pick it up and maybe read from it on the program to mock it and playfully share it with you. Well, I can do this too. And why not do something biblical today on Storytime? So we're going to have David and Goliath as our story.
Tell me a story, tell me a story, tell me a story. Remember what you said. You promised me, you said you would. You gotta give in, so I'll be good. Tell me a story, then I'll go to bed.
Yidle, didle, 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 didle. Yes, I will be telling you a story, ladies and gentlemen. I shall be reading from the biblical tale of David and Goliath. You know, David and the giant Goliath. Well, you know the story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. as told for this tiny little book edition that is written by Marlene Targ Bill, or God damn it, these glasses. Hold on, I gotta fix these glasses a little bit. Just give me the thing there. Let me get the other one in here. Get the schmutz out. Hold on. All right, is this better? Not especially. Where the hell are my other glasses? All right, let me do my glasses over the glasses. This'll work. Oh, now we're rolling. Here we go. David and Goliath, written by Marlene Targ Brill. Brill. Okay, so we're building something here. The Brill Building. Okay. And illustrated, very nicely, I might add, by Thomas Gianni. And this was copyright 1998 by Publications International Limited. Louis Weber being the CEO. Could be Jewish, could be not. Manufactured in China. Love Chinese food, so it's close enough. Here we go. A long time ago, in the town of Bethlehem, there lived a boy named David. I already like this book, I like the name. He and his brothers were sons of Jesse. See, I know a lot of people who are sons of bitches, but this is different. David was very special to God, and God watched over him. Now, David, here he is. Here's a picture of him. Oh, yeah. Unlike most Jews, he has a nice long stick. David was a shepherd. Every day, when David went to tend the sheep, he brought his harp with them. Because, yeah, you definitely want to be dragging a harp through sheep muck all across the field, just so when you're trying to watch them not run away, you can plunk yourself down and play a tune. I do not understand this. But he would play the harp to calm the sheep and to make the day go faster. It's not like they had Spotify at that moment. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is wonderful. Nearby in Bethlehem lived Saul, or as in Hebrew we would say Shaul. Shaul, the king of Israel. And Shaul was very unhappy. If you're not sure, check out the Bunion on this guy. There he is. Oh, my God. Oh, my stock went down 20%. Oh, no. Oh, give up. My wife is buying me out of house and home. Here we go. There's Shaul with David and his stupid little harp next to him. Now, Saul was very unhappy. At one time, he loved and respected God. But then, one day, Saul displeased Hashem. And after that, Saul became very sad. Because he basically knew, you displease Hashem, you spend a few million years in hell. A servant suggested that they find someone to play the harp for Saul to make him happy. Because I know, if I'm feeling down, don't bring me ice cream. Don't make me laugh. Don't give me some Peloponnesian pornography. No, kindly bring me a guy with a harp. Well, he thought some music would cheer the guy up. So, another servant knew that David played the harp. So David went to the palace to play for the king. You know, I should really have here. Let's hear some harp music. Imagine a digital trombone kind of harp, and you know where we're going. You have no idea where we're going with this. David's music did make King Saul feel better. So he asked Jesse to let David stay at the palace. And you forget, Jesse is the father of David. So, meanwhile, we're doing a crosscut here. David's brothers joined Saul's army. Once when David was visiting home, Jesse said, I hear the Philistines are ready to fight. Well, and have they ever stopped? I am worried about your older brothers. Take this food to them and come back and let me know how they are. David awoke early the next day. He picked up the small sack of food and started on the trip. So notice, he's got the sack. Somewhere he's got the harp, which is kind of good. If he's bringing a big wedge of mozzarella cheese, you can just take it, you put the harp over it, and you got slices for all of his brothers. So it works. And let's see. This is of course, David Doesn't have a camel even. The poor guy, he's so small, he's got a little donkey there. So this is David. First he has a big stick, now he's holding his ass. It happens. We're reading David and Goliath, by the way, for the holiday. Are you feeling religious yet? As David neared the army camp, he heard yelling. The two armies were lined up and ready to fight. Oh, look at this. This guy looks like he hasn't had a poop in weeks. And they're all gnashing of their teeth. Today, I dare the army of Israel, roared a giant Philistine, a.k.a. Hezbollah, soldier named Goliath. He was trying to make one of Saul's men fight him. Give me a man to fight. If he wins, we will be your servants. If I win, you will be our servants. Along with Mitzrayim and all this. So, Saul's soldiers were afraid. Actually, I think this came after the Exodus for me. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Saul's soldiers were afraid of these big-ass Philistines. This man was so big and strong. But David shouted, I will fight the giant Goliath myself. Ooh. Now David's brothers told him to be quiet and go home. Sounds like wives. But David would not listen. King Shaul heard about David's promise. He said, you are just a boy who tends sheep, he said. Goliath has been a warrior since he was a small child. My God, he was wrestling. He's a black belt in judo. And you're Jew, and he's going to turn you into dough. I know I am a shepherd boy, David answered. Then he told the king how he had rescued sheep from bears and lions. Oh my. God has saved me from wild animals, David told King Saul. God will save me now. Oh, which is kind of a dangerous thing for a Jew to say, or at least we learned this in the late 1930s and 40s. At a certain point, you gotta help yourself and God's away on business. But, in this case, maybe luck will be, and fate and Hashem will be on David's side. But here he is. There he is rescuing a sheep from a bear. The bear's not even looking at David. Bear's not even looking at the sheep, come to think of it. He's kind of on his way. And David, as you can see right there, he's holding, sort of looks like a tulip or something of that nature. Now, King Saul knew what had to be done. Go and may God be with you, the king said, quoting Tevye. Saul wanted to help David, so he gave him heavy armor. But David was not used to it. He's a little Jewish man, right? The armor was too heavy for him. And then he gave him some armor that was too light. Oh, this armor is too light. And then he found a medium and said, oh, this armor is just... No, wait, this is the whole wrong fable. David removed the armor. Then he walked to a nearby stream and he picked out 5 smooth stones. He put them in his pouch, grabbed the sling and his shepherd's crook. Why he would bring a criminal along the way, I do not understand. And started off to fight the giant. Here is David playing with his rocks right there by the... Why would he pick smooth stones? I figure if he was going to try and go after a giant and go, fatum, you probably want something sharp and pointy. So they would go and he'd have a zing and doing the thing, but all right, it's a story. Goliath marched towards David. The sunshine glared off the giant's shiny helmet. Sounds like bad porn right here. In Goliath's hand was a fierce-looking spear that weighed more than 15 pounds. My goodness. And the giant looked down at David. He thought the boy was too young and too small to fight. It was someone playing a joke on him. And you can, Philistines, they really don't have a sense of humor. They like Jeff Foxworthy, sort of a little bit. And Ricky Gervais, one of his specials made this guy. Other than that, nothing. No Sarah Silverman, of course. But not even red buttons. Just nothing making this guy chuckle. But he thought, someone's taking the piss. Someone's playing a joke. Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? Yelled the angry Philistine. Come here and I will feed you to the birds and the wild animals. Ooh, Tough talk. This is, in football, this would be trash talking. Oh boy. David answered Goliath, "You come at me with a sword and spear, but I come in the name of God who protects the army of Israel. And today I will strike you down. Everyone will know there is a God in Israel, and that God does not save by spear and sword." Well, if he doesn't do that, what does he do? But look. David's getting ready. He got the bear with the thing. Now he's getting ready to slay the big Goliath Philistine giant. The angry Philistine ran at David. David pulled a stone from his gallbladder, which really hurt, but then he pulled another stone from his bag. He fixed it in his sling and flung it towards Goliath with all his might. The stone flew through the air with the greatest of ease and struck the giant in the middle of his forehead. Yes, with a loud thud. Thud. Goliath fell to the ground. So God does not kill with sticks and spears, he kills with rocks. Really, we're parsing a very minimal difference here, but okay. David grabbed the giant's sword and held it high above his head, to show both armies that he had won the battle with the angry giant. Now, the Philistines were terrified. They ran from the field with Shaul's army following right behind them. Because once they start running, you start gunning. And then, look, scared. Oh boy, look what happened. And there he is, which, let's face it, David is not the brightest. He turned down armor. He didn't have to wear the heavy armor. He could have worn lighter armor. He uses smooth rocks instead of sharp, jagged, pointy ones. And, okay, so you're holding a sword there. And then you're holding a sword in your bare hand over here. I'm guessing that can't feel good. I am guessing that while he is exulting at besting Goliath, David here is probably slicing a finger or two off of his hand. Not, okay, I mean, he's got God watching for him, so he doesn't have to be the brightest bulb in the candelabra. And now, when King Saul, heard about David's victory, he was so happy. He knew that God, whom he was having trouble believing, remember? He knew that God was with David. And after that, David lived in the palace like a royal son. And later, he himself became king, and he ruled Eretz Yisrael for many years. People always remember the little shepherd boy who beat the giant with only one small stone. And there you go. That is the story of David and Goliath. Look, just like at the Bugs Bunny cartoons. The end. We have been reading from David and Goliath. It's a little classic because he fits literally in the palm of your hand. A very nice read there. We want to thank the woman who wrote this again, Marlene or Marlena, depending on what country you're from, Targ Brill. And if you've ever had your Brill Targ, you know how delightful that can be. Illustrated by Thomas Gianni for Publications International Limited. Copyright 1998. All rights reserved. So no, this book may not be reproduced or quoted in whole or in part. Okay, won't forget that part. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching me, Rabbi Sol Solomon, on the Dave's Gone By Facebook, your podcast, your programmio of the stream on this Shabbos morning, September 28, 2024. So what does it remain for me to do? It remains for me to exult, as I did last week, in the pagers going boom. No, that's wrong. Hold on, I need the wrong thing. I gotta play the right boom thing. The pager's going boom. There we go. And of course, just yesterday, the head son of a bitch, the head bastard evil terrorist of Hezbollah, was taken out in Lebanon by an Israeli bomb. Well, I guess they used nerve gas warfare, but that was supposed to be whoopee. Oh, a whoopee cushion, not actually whoopee happy. We'll do this again. There you go. So, as miserable a time as it has been for Jews all over the world, and even American Jews, we're having some fun now, aren't we, kids? We're having that moment, that David versus Goliath moment of saying, oh, you want to just blithely attack us at a music festival, kill and rape and murder and dismember a bunch of innocent people? All right, we'll cry. We're going to have a moment, and then we're going to come back at you, and we're going to kill and hurt and kill and hurt and kill and hurt and kill and hurt and kill and hurt until we try and make you stop. And not only do we cut off the little bits of the hydra, but sometimes we even get the head of the hydra and see it rolling down the sand. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this surprisingly good little pocket of joy during all the misery of the past year, I wish you a most happy and healthy and delightful and joyful and wonderful new year. Shana 5,000 something and something and something. Math was never my thing. But let good times and good health be your thing, and celebrate. I am Rabbi Sal Solomon, and you've been watching me in Story Time. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Dave's Gone By with amazing people like Rabbi Sal Solomon, with usually amazing people like my adorable and wonderful wife who just could not be here today because she's over at school doing schooly kind of things. But I'm Schooly D, if you will. Whatever happened to Schooly D? And I'm Dave, and I appreciate that you're tuning in every Saturday from 9 until noonish or thereabouts to watch the nonsense, the craziness of Dave's Gone By. Remember, davesgoneby.com is our website. davesgoneby@aol.com is my email address. So if you want to respond to something that you've seen on here or heard, if you want to give me a compliment, if you want to complain about me, if you want to make suggestions about things, davesgoneby@aol.com is the place to do that. And also, if you're on Facebook, and if you're watching me live, you are on Facebook, then you can message me on Facebook or post under the current episode or any past episode, and I'll go through them, and I will reply to as many as I can when I get a chance. Usually, trust me that I try and read everything. I don't get a chance to respond to everything, but I thank you all for listening, even when you give me emojis and thumbs up and emoticons and saying, great show, Dave, or weird show, Dave, or strange segment, or boy, what a cool guest that David Mogentale was, or Rabbi Sal Solomon, he's something. He certainly is. I'm something too, and let's see what else we have to do on this program. We've got Bunion Watch coming up. We've got Dave's Big Dictionary, where I'll be talking about the word avatar, and we'll have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. So quite a lot to get through in just over half an hour or so for the rest of this episode of the program. Let's get to just a short version of Greeley Times. Now, this is a segment that we started doing when my wife and I were living in Colorado, northern Colorado, in a town called Greeley. Now, Greeley has a real actual newspaper, and there's a story that they do every week, a column, that is based on real things, but they might as well be fake because they're so funny. They are calls that come into the Northern Colorado Police Department from people who have problems with something going on in their neighborhood. They spot a crime potentially being committed. They're paranoid about something happening to themselves. They're real phone calls with the identifiers stripped away. Those go into this weekly column in the Trib. We pluck out the ones we think are funniest and most worth sharing with you, my beloved listeners in the Daverhood, and we call our segment Greeley Times. that criminal music, ladies and gentlemen, as we do Greeley Times on this Saturday, September 28th, the last Saturday in September of 2024. I'm going to borrow the Rabbi's reading glasses here. There we go. So these are actual real calls from the blogger of the Northern Colorado Police Department. A caller on 24th Street reported a skunk wrapped in his kid's soccer net in the front yard. Caller called back shortly later to say he got the skunk free, but he did get sprayed in the process. I think we call that a win-lose. You save the animal, you get the stuff out of the kid's soccer net, but at the same time, you probably should have shot the animal and run. But hey, it happens. That's the thing about most of these. They're not real terrible, scary crimes. They're things where you just go like, it happens. For example, a caller. Oh, we have a caller. I'll use the semicircle phone. Yes, caller, I hear you. Where are you? Oh, at a local grocery store on 35th Avenue. Said, what happened? His vehicle broke down in the parking lot, and when he went back, it was gone. You know, sometimes things fix themselves, and buddy, if you love something, if you love it, let it go. And if that car was meant to be yours, somehow it will come back to you. It just will. But if you love your Chevy, free, set it free. A caller on 27th Street Lane said he saw a commercial for ammunition, and then he searched for the word and the term ammo online. Now he wanted to know if, by doing that search, if he was suddenly on a flagged list, like people, the anti-terrorism thing and the NHS and ICE or whoever are suddenly going to start going after him, because it's actually it's a legit question. I'm hoping they don't pay the same attention to search terms like nymphomaniac sheep. But anywho, that's just just a personal thought. Okay, a caller at a trailer park on 4th Street said a neighbor backed into his vehicle again. Some of these things are made by just one word. That's one of them. A neighbor backed into his vehicle again. The caller said it happened several times over the past few months. So, just thinking reasonably logically, A, you might want to have a discussion with your neighbor. B, you might just want to move your car. You might just want to think of parking in a slightly different spot so that they can. It's just an idea. Hey, I have an idea that we're getting another phone call. Oh, these pesky phone calls. Here we go. A caller at a pharmacy on 11th Avenue said a man in the back alley threw a broom at a delivery driver. I don't know. I guess he's trying to make a clean sweep of things. I know that's not funny. I know that's not even worth a... Yeah, I couldn't... This was one of the things I was going to have my wife here, because we have a little thing between us about older grandmothers called nonas, and we have I'm not even going to describe the potato in our car. It's too much to unpack, but understand that we have a potato, one of these guys, in the back seat of our car, dressed as an old Italian grandmother with white cotton balls under her hat, representing old woman's hair, and carrying a broom that my wife cut out of construction paper, so that she's not chasing people with a broom and threatening to throw a shoe at people, like the Italian mothers that she grew up with in Queens. So this whole Nana thing, I can't really do it because the wife isn't here, but I can just make a really bad broom joke. And I better get off the stick. Yeah. Okay, there we go. A caller on Reservoir Road, we know that well. Reservoir Road had questions about road closures. Dispatch notes indicated the caller was, quote, mad, mad, mad about the closures. And, I love that dispatchers are just trying to quote something. No, they're not just mad. And they're not just really mad. They're mad, mad, mad. Because it is a mad, mad, mad world of mad, mad, mad people. I'm trying to be funny. I'm working it. I'm working my last nerve to try and be just funnier than Barbie. All right, here we go. A caller on Alpine Avenue said, so we're hitting the heights here, said that the neighbor's animals kept pooping in the caller's yard. So, yeah, that's kind of annoying. I had a, I don't get this. No, I don't get the little note I made to make a joke about this. My joke, when I wrote this probably like 3 weeks ago, because our Greeley times get a little backed up when we don't do all of them for the week in the same week. So this is probably going back about 3-4 weeks. And I have a note, animals keep pooping in the caller's yard. The animals are Himalayan tigers. So, what was that? There must have been something in the news about Himalayan tigers doing something. I'm going to check this out right now. What joke was I trying to make? Because this is a very meta edition of Games Gone By. Himalayan tiger, maybe? News? No. Tigers in the snow. Siberian tiger. I don't get it. Rare tiger found in the Himalayas. There's nothing funny about it. Tiger population. I don't even. Wow. I apologize for the joke that I couldn't make but tried to make, and have no idea the joke I was about to construct for you, because I did it almost a month ago. Oh, I feel terrible, folks. I feel like this. Let's see if it gets better. A caller at US 34 bypass reported driving by and seeing two people having relations on the corner. Friendly relations, I hope. Best kind of, maybe they were relatives. They were related, and therefore relations. Not sure why you would tell a cop that you would see people having relations on the corner. However, if you happen to spot people having those kinds of relations near you, please text me, give me a call. I do have a new pair of binoculars, and I'll just report. I will just, as a scientific study and a sociological profile, go there with my binoculars and a box of Kleenex. Now, let's get to an elsewhere, my friends. See, in Greeley Times, not all our stories come from northern Colorado and from the Greeley Tribune. Nearly all do, but we always try to throw in one weird, funny, odd story in the news that is not from northern Colorado. It could be from anywhere else in the world. And boy, oh boy, we go far away for this one. This was just in the news from Uruguay. Ooh, you go Uruguay, I'll go mine. 2 siblings were sentenced to prison this week for trafficking $3 million worth of animal matter to Hong Kong for use in Chinese medicines. Okay, happens, and it's not a nice thing. What's funny? It always is one detail that makes these things wonderful. The contraband cow gallstones, bovine gallstones. A 50-year-old Uruguayan man was sentenced to 2 years in prison for smuggling and money laundering. His sister got only 18 months, but was released on probation also. They acquired the gallstones from Uruguayan slaughterhouses. Apparently, Uruguay has more than 3 cows for each of the country's 3.5 million inhabitants. It's the highest number per capita in the world. So again, when you see people environmentalists and conservationists, and I'm certainly not against what they're doing. But when they bitch about the American meat industry and the way we keep cattle and the fact that we have cattle instead of vegetarian diets, and then therefore they fart all this stuff that's killing the ozone layer, and their crap and their poo, and they're eating the grass, and they're doing all the terrible things that cattle are doing to America somehow. Little friggin' Uruguay has 3 cows for every single human being in the country. So let's maybe direct our attention also elsewhere at the same time, shall we? So the defendant paid, this is the allegation, he was found guilty. The defendant paid about $200,000 per kilo, which is more than twice the price of gold. Have a goldstone, Mr. Goldstone. That cow gallstones are actually more valuable than gold ingots from Fort Knox. It's amazing. He then sent the gallstones via DHL. So he saved a little money. He wasn't using FedEx. He used DHL as the delivery service to 2 companies in Hong Kong. And the profit was about $8,000 per kilo, which you multiply that, you make a profit of about $3 million, or made an overall amount of about $3 million. Gallstones found in the bladders of cattle during meat processing are highly prized in Asia for their anti-inflammatory and fever-reducing properties. I'm just not sure where the crime. I'm not joking about it. Where is the crime? If a company gives you all these cow gallstones because it's the one thing they can't grind up and put into ballpark franks. They can do the snout, they can do the tail, they can do the pudenda, but gallstones, they just can't mask that with paprika. Okay? It's got to go in the bin. And if somebody wants to take the bin away, say, we'll take all these painful gallstones off your hands. And no, we have a place. We can, we have a buyer. And then you take them, you send them to these Chinese companies that are helping people with anti-inflammatory medication. I don't know if this is holistic medicine or more westernized Chinese medicine that is using. It's probably holistic stuff, probably Chinese herbal medicine. But grounding this stuff up to make good medicines to help people, I just don't. Were they not paying taxes on the stones? Or the beetles, for that matter? I don't know. But there you go. That's from Uruguay, the gallstone story here on Dave's Gone By as part of Greeley Times. So let's go back to Greeley. Speaking of meat processing, where the JBS plant is a whole hell of a lot of trouble, not over how they treat animals or make the whole town smell, but how they're treating the immigrants. Because I guess the immigrants, they're not letting eat the cattle. They have to still keep eating dogs and cats. Anywho, let's do one or two more Greeley Times here on Dave's Gone By. A woman at the Greeley Police Department. Oh, I don't know if we have a siren. What do we got? Yeah. A caller a woman at the Greeley Police Department, she physically went there, was upset because she said the Weld County Sheriff's Office wasted her time at the courthouse. Why? Because she had a key that looked similar to a cuff key. Now, oddly enough, she also had a metal file similar to the standard break-out-of-prison file, as well as a toy shiv. Okay, I guess I would do her an extra pat down or make sure that it wasn't really a cuff key. Yeah, okay, I kind of get both sides of this story. They wasted her time, but who the hell knows, right? So, okay. And then let's do another. A caller on Fifth Avenue. Ooh. Caller on Fifth Avenue said an ex-tenant broke into his garage, and the caller thought the tenant was having, quote, a crack party. And I don't know, was he having relations? And that's a code word for anal intercourse? I don't know. I'm just saying, he was on the crack at the crack of noon and having a good crack at it. Ladies and gentlemen, You have been listening to and watching Greeley Times on this program, which is called Dave's Gone By.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi!
Yippee-yi, 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 yi, yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is about 20 to 12 Eastern Time here in the Daverhood on Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz. Thanking you for watching. We've got more show for you. We got Bunion Watch. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, and we have to also pay tribute to our friends of the Daverhood. But before we get to it, as promised, it's time to dip into the lexicon, to get linguistic with a word. So I mentioned, or earlier, we mentioned that Merriam-Webster's every day, as kind of a marketing thing, will pick a word of the day. They'll give you a definition, they'll give you some background. It's really, really cool. If you love language, it's kind of neat. So we've, instead of having to randomly choose a word ourselves here in the Daverhood, we let Merriam-Webster do it. And their word of the day for today, September 28th, 2024, is avatar. Avatar. Cool word. And my job on Dave's Big Dictionary is to just, whatever will come into my head about that word, I'll just extemporize for 5 minutes or so. That's the challenge of it. Maybe I will fall flat on my literal or avatar ass, or maybe I'll be kind of funny and amusing. The only way for you to know is to keep watching as we do Dave's Big Dictionary. Extra, tell all about it. It's Dave's Big Dictionary. So looking at the Merriam-Webster's website, so avatar is, of course, a noun. Here's what it means. It's an electronic image, for example, in a video game, that represents and can even be manipulated by a computer user. Avatar can also refer to the embodiment of something such as a concept or philosophy, often within a person, or to an incarnation of a deity, for example, a Hindu deity like Vishnu. So let's use it in a sentence, shall we? Before they started playing the game, Maeve and Sanaa customized their avatars. The things that looked like them, the little, or didn't look like them at all, something that they chose to represent them. She has come to be regarded as an avatar of charity and concern for the poor, kind of like an ultimate, almost near deity, an iconic, wonderful person. Let's see it. They always have context, and it always takes forever. But did you know? I love the did you know part that Merriam-Webster does on this. Did you know? Water, earth, fire, and air. These are just some of the elements and environments that video game avatars, the images representing and controlled by players, have faced since the days of Space Invaders, to say nothing of today's Pandora's box of assorted baddies. Avatar comes from a word in Sanskrit, and the word is avatara. My God, Rabbi Saul will love this. Avatara, meaning descent. So when Avatar first appeared in English in the late 18th century, it was about the descent of a deity down to earth, the incarnation in earthly form of Vishnu, or another Hindu deity. But it later came to refer to any incarnation in human form, and then to any embodiment, even the embodiment of a concept or philosophy, even if it's not in the form of a person. And all of these uses of avatar are still happening today, joined by the more recent computer gaming sense, which, I like this, which may refer to you embodied as a mustachioed Italian plumber, for example, even if you are not, in fact, a mustachioed Italian plumber. So there we have the word of the day and Merriam-Webster's definition and usage of avatar. Now it's up to me to talk on some level about Avatar and what it brings to mind. Of course, the first thing it brings to mind is the movie, the James Cameron movie, which I barely remember. I didn't see it in the theaters. I saw it a couple of years ago. And I remember just enjoying it to a point and wondering why it had to be longer than 2.5 hours. It was one of those, and even though I was watching it in bits and dribs and drabs, as I mentioned, and not on a big screen, but kind of going, okay, all right, I'm getting, let's just get this all over. A lot of people have to die. Is the paralyzed guy going to do what? I didn't remember the film until I looked over the synopsis of it on Wiki, I admit, or earlier today, while Rabbi Saul was doing the interview. I did a little bit of Googling for the synopsis of the film just to jar my memory, because I remember the look of the Na'vi people, and that was really all. I didn't even remember that Sigourney Weaver was in it. I think Scott Glenn was in there as the lead guy. Anyway, so I'm not going to even talk much about Avatar the film because it didn't make that huge an impression on me. I'm one of those people who will sit through and enjoy, to an extent, a Marvel superhero epic kind of $800 billion budget film, and not really have anything against it, and have a reasonably good time as anyone going into a theater would. But at the same time, it won't stay with me. The movie won't stick in my bones. It won't make an impression. All that movie is doing for 2 hours and 40 minutes is trying to make an impression, and doing that is so relentless that the ultimate impression is like, okay, I kind of remember how the people living on that planet thing looked, and this guy kind of going into an avatar to go and join them and spy on them and stuff. That was it. So it almost works in a reverse way. There was a terrible movie I was watching about a month and a half ago that some people consider as the greatest movie of all time, and it's Jean Dielman. Like I can't even say it or remember the title in French, but Jean Dielman, 23 to 25 hours over the course of a week, September or something like that. It was a French film by a filmmaker named Chantal Akerman, avant-garde-ish, if you will, slice of life. Frederick Wiseman, but not documentary, fiction, when I think Delphine Seyrig starred in it. But, and the whole thing, and the movie, no, first I'll tell you what the movie is about, and then I'll tell you the special surprise. The movie follows this middle-aged woman day to day in all her unbelievably boring, mundane routines, except she has one or two things that she does that kind of break up the routine. But, her son's kind of a lox, he's a boring little twerp. She makes up the bed, she takes the bed out, she makes up the bed, she makes bread, she makes dumplings, she does this, and you just watch her endlessly do all these mundane things that, I believe she's a widow or divorcee, I don't recall, does in her little apartment in France, saving money, sending a letter at the post office. And this movie, which has no real plot to speak of, runs 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours of this film, right? I tried to watch in bits. I did not go to the movie theater to see that. I watched in bits this Jean Dielman film while having lunch over the course of about 3 weeks, watching 15 to 20 minutes each time I had the chance, until it was finally over with, oh yes, a shock ending that supposedly calls into question everything that came before, but really doesn't. Okay, so, and it's supposedly a landmark feminist film and all of that. No, it's just a trial by boredom. And yet, I will remember more of this stupid movie 5 years from now than I will remember again anything from Avatar, probably more than I will remember anything of Barbie, right? More than I remember of any of these cultural watershed films that have 10 times the wit, 10 times the action, 10 times the set design and the construction and the lighting and the acting and the fun, the sheer fun and exuberance. I'm going to remember this woman, Sean Dielman, washing herself in the tub, laying a towel over the bed, and all the. So you think, oh, it is a great film because you're always going to remember it, and it left these impressions. No, it's not going. I'm going to remember the film in a positive, happy fashion. I'm just going to tell myself I wasted. I'm 60 years old. I don't have that much time to waste anymore. Right? I don't have time to waste on new music that I'm not going to really get into or remember. My head is full. There's no room for much information or entertainment or art that I don't already know or didn't subsume in the first 40 years of my life. Right? So I've unfortunately made room for this Chantal Akerman film that, has somehow taken up space that could have gone to James Cameron movies. Just the way things are. Anyway, that's me talking about one level of Avatar. On another level, I get people wanting to have these cute little different things representing them. It is pretty funny. In one of the schools where I teach, we have Blackboard. But I'm not like the blackboard I was using when I started teaching, where I held a piece of chalk and did it the old-fashioned way. It's this interface called Blackboard that is a computer thing where all the grading is done, all the slides, the PowerPoints that you need are shown on there. You just put the whole class on there, essentially, in different ways. So one of the things is it's got a little place by all the students' names, where if they want to, they can upload their photo or a picture or an avatar. And I do wish all of them would upload their photos. I am terrible with names, and not that great with faces either. It's a third of the way through the semester, and I'm still seeing people in the hall. It's like, are you one of mine? Yeah, because I teach a bunch of classes, right? I've got 20-something people in each of these classes. So people get mad. I don't remember their names. I'm sorry, I don't. But it would be nice if when I'm grading you, I can connect the name to that face. I will be much more likely to remember it, to that avatar. But the thing is, I loaded up my avatar. I used my passport photo, which is, passport photos right from here to here, mostly face, straight on, no glasses, no nothing. So I've got this, and I thought, okay, let me load it up. And now it's just ridiculous because every time I show anything that isn't the week's slides on PowerPoint, but any other aspect of Blackboard that I want to share with the students, whether it's an assignment they have to do, whether it's a place where they have to load up a PDF that they've worked on, or whatever it is, any other part of this Blackboard site, my little head about the size of a grape is popped up in the upper left-hand corner. And it's a smiling little ridiculous passport avatar picture of me. And I always feel so embarrassed. It's a good picture. It is, as my wife would say, I would say I'm far from the handsomest guy in the world. She likes how I look. And she says, I rarely ever take a bad picture. And I don't. It's a very good picture of me. But it's this tiny little thumbnail picture of me on this site that's supposed to be about the kids and the work that they have to do and what I'm trying to convey of them. And you just see this little idiotic avatar of me. I should never have put that thing up there, but it gives them a chuckle. It gives me a laugh. So on some level, avatars are ridiculous, but they have their uses. And it's certainly been useful for me to talk about on this segment of Dave's Gone By that we have called Dave's Big Dictionary. Extra, tell all about it. It's Dave's Big Dictionary. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we still have a bit more to do on this September 28th edition of Dave's Gone By. We've got Friends of the Daverhood and our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. But I did promise, I was thinking about backing out of it because we were almost at the 3-hour mark already. But I did tell you, I did vow solemnly that I would show you my bunions because it was already a year ago, more than a year ago this time, I had a week, the first week of school when I was teaching a year ago, fall semester. And I wore a new pair of sneakers. And I thought I had broken them in, but I hadn't. So after the first day, I had this like rubbed wound over my right foot big toe, near, but not actually on, my enormous right foot bunion. So I said, hey, let me share this because I know just how much you care about my feet. And let me share this with my viewers in the Daverhood, all of my friends, all of you are my family if you're watching the show. Let me show you the condition of this wound. And by the way, it's right next to my enormous giant bunion. So over the coming weeks, we showed my wound healing. But then I was like, you know what? Bunions, I love the word bunion. It's a wonderful word. Everybody say it with me. Bunion. Bunion, right? So why not keep showing the condition of my foot and the size of my bunion? See if it's gotten bigger or smaller or somewhere in between. So ladies and gentlemen, we are actually going to do on this episode of Dave's Gone By, we have it, here it is, Bunion Watch.
She's Bunion, she really is a fun one, she's Bunion. Listen, doctor, to my plea, it's time for bunionectomy. Bunions, they're a pain in our feet. These feet of mine have got to go, please get these bunions off my toes.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Bunion Watch here on Dave's Gone By. And yes, I was able to find songs about bunions because that's the trouble I go to for you to make this program. So here we go. I'm going to use a different measuring implement this time for this particular episode. You're so lucky. Here, I'm going to show you, first of all, maybe I'll turn this off so it doesn't shine so brightly. Will that yeah, it will. Let me show you my bunion there. It isn't really that red normally. It's only when I turn in and hammer toe, my big toe. But look at it. Look at it! Mount Bunyanjaro, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to measure it against the shoeless and actually pantless and shirtless man of Barney Greengrass. 100 years, the Sturgeon King. He's got his own measuring pole. But first of all, let's take a look at Barney Greengrass's kind of perfect feet. He's got great arches, doesn't he? I mean, I guess that's supposed to be Poseidon, but we're going to call him Barney. But he's got beautiful, I've got flat feet. You can kind of see that. And does he have bunions? No. Honestly, he doesn't really have definable toes. He may, since he is from the sea, he has more sort of a webbed foot look. So I do not envy him. Maybe he envies me for my beautiful, round, curvaceous, sexy bunion. Look at that. Look at that. I got my other foot. I can do it there too. I'm going to keep this one in a sock for reference because it's going to be closer to Barney Greengrass's foot. Here's this bunion. Oh, it's kind of hard to. There it is. There it is. This is the bunion on my left foot. Maybe this is closer to the Greengrass foot. Get real close to the. Not really helping, is it? This side's probably better. Look, behold, and here's mine. Yeah, I think he may be the Sturgeon King, my friends, but I am the foot bone king compared to him. Oh, he can bone fish. My goodness, he can certainly bone a fish better than I could ever learn over a million years. And maybe our friend David Mogentale can really bone a fish if he has to do that, but I think he just serves. But my bunions have served me well over the years. And they have served us well on Dave's Gone By because we've been doing this ridiculous segment for more than a year. And you haven't complained about it, so I really appreciate that. Anyway, happy noon to you. It is 12 o'clock in the afternoon here in the Daverhood on this Saturday, September 28th, 2024, our 962nd program that we have been calling, what have we been calling it? Tale Told. We're calling that in honor of our new friend of the Daverhood, my old friend David Mogentale, who was a guest on the show earlier in the program. And remember, if you missed David Mogentale's appearance, you can certainly see it in the archives on davesgoneby.com. I have a warmer light than that. That's better. So David Mogentale, Mogentale. If you're looking for him, he was the original New York Killer Joe, and he's, if you want to see him in the flesh when he's not acting much, at least on stages, go to Barney Greengrass up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and he is there. One of the reasons we couldn't do the interview live today is he works on Saturdays. Weekends are his big thing. Now, and he even had a deal, he was telling us, when he was running 29th Street Rep. Like, I can do stuff, but I still gotta keep my day job doing the fish. So yes, if you go to Barney Greengrass, ask around, look for David Mogentale and tell him Dave sent you, and maybe he'll give you a cookie, or a fish cookie. So maybe he won't. Anyway, thank you to David Mogentale for being our new friend of the Daverhood. Thank you to Rabbi Saul Solomon, our old friend of the Daverhood, who was on our very first program. For more information about him, to hear and read his rabbinical reflections, to watch his one-man show, Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon, or to watch the episodes of his hilarious TV show, Shalom Dammit, Rabbi Saul Solomon's Peace, Love, and Acid Reflux Hour. They're all available for free just to screen and watch. They're on YouTube, but all the links you can find very easily at shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T. Shalomdammit.com. Just look for Rabbi Saul Solomon and all his wonderful stuff. There's also links to his interviews that he's done on this program at shalomdammit.com as well. So thank you to Rabbi Saul, and a most happy Shana Tova to him. Well, those are just two of our friends of the Daverhood. We have a bunch because we've been on the air for 22 years, and therefore, everyone who's been on the program, all our guests over the years, the very famous ones, the barely famous ones, they're all our friends. They're all our family, and we kind of like to let you know, hey, what have they been up to since they've been here? Our friends of the Daverhood. I don't know why I play such mournful music. Well, it kind of has to play in the background. So, yes, a little bit of Beethoven to get us cooking with our friends of the Daverhood. For example, one more reminder that Art Paul Schlosser's artwork is available if you happen to be in Madison, Wisconsin, which is his home base, where he is a street performer and also a club performer of his outsider music, let's call it. Well, he's also a painter, and his paintings are on view at Fair Trade Coffee in Madison, Wisconsin, and that's from now until Halloween. Playing now through almost the end of September, a musical called Diamond as Big as the Ritz is being done at the Sargent Theater on West 54th Street. I believe that's one of the theaters in the ATA. And the score for that new musical is by Seth Bisson-Hirsch, our friend of the Daverhood. Diamond as Big as the Ritz. Now through the middle of October, they're dropping a new podcast every week. It's called Flash Force, Middle-Aged Women Superheroes Save Democracy. Available wherever podcasts are available. You can hear all the old episodes, as well as a new one every Wednesday. And the cast of that includes our friends Lucy Arnaz, Jason Gra, and Karen Ziemba. So we've got a three-bagger in Flash Force. Want to let you know that off-Broadway at Manhattan Theater Club it's the new play Vladimir, featuring our friend Eric Jensen. We had him back on, he was in another show, I think about Andy Warhol, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago on Dave's Gone By. He's got another Broadway role, which also means he has conquered, he was very sick for a while, and he's better, and he's acting on Broadway. Off-Broadway now. Eric Jensen. It's at City Center over, I believe, on 55th Street on the west side of Manhattan. Manhattan Theater Club. Vladimir is the name of the show. A great play indeed is at the Barrymore Theater. It's Thornton Wilder's Our Town. No, we've never had Thornton Wilder as a guest, but we have had the funny actress Julie Holston, probably in a quite serious role, in Our Town, a masterpiece play. Wish I could be there. I hope I get to see it when I come to New York. That is playing now. It hasn't opened yet. It's in previews, and it's playing in an open run on Broadway. Speaking of Broadway, the New Amsterdam Theater has the musical Aladdin, which features music by our friend Alan Menken. More music at Birdland. It's Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks. They play 2 shows on Monday evenings. And every Monday night at Birdland, it's Jim Caruso's Cast Party. Get your tickets at birdlandjazz.com. The Roxy Hotel has pianist Michael Garin Tuesday through Saturday evenings, kind of playing cocktail piano. And by the way, if you go to his Facebook page, he live streams when he's doing it. So if you want to feel like you are in a swanky New York dig, sipping a cocktail and hearing lounge cocktail music, and Michael Garin plays a little bit with the idea of what cocktail music is. But check it out. Michael Garin, Garin, at the Roxy Hotel. Katie Sullivan is at the Algonquin on Tuesday evenings. And then what else? Of course, Evan Seplow, the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com, which is a website of New York nightlife. We also give tributes to our beloved friends. David Sheward, who writes for TheaterLife.com, CulturalDaily.com, and TotalTheater.com. We posted a couple of new theater reviews of his, including the revival of Forbidden Broadway by our friend Gerard Alessandrini. That is playing off-Broadway for a few more weeks. Vicky Quaddy, who is the co-creator of Late Night Catechism and the author of Are You Smarter Than Your 8th Grade Nun? She is in these things every week, all along Chicago in that section of the country. Vicky Quaddy, Quade, a beloved friend of the Daverhood. We just haven't had her on the show in a while, but we miss her. And then Charlie Gross and Leslie Hoban Blake co-host a show called Two on the Aisle, where they review theater on and off Broadway. Just go to the channel on YouTube, look for Two on the Aisle, and particularly Charlie Gross, because other people have used that appellation. Do we have, and of course, Dr. Demento, doing Dr. Demento shows, new and old, under the smogberry trees, drdemento.com, and those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Oh, some nice violin in there from Ludwig van Bee here in the Daverhood. It's 10 after 12 Eastern Time. Yeah, I haven't even had my wonderful wife here to support me, and I've somehow still managed to go over 3 hours. I don't know how I manage it. And we haven't quite finished the show because we have one more item for you. I'll raise the warning alarm in case you want to escape now, because the one segment that we haven't done, and we've done Bunion Watch, and we've done Dave's Big Dictionary, and we've done Greeley Times, and we've had our interview with Rabbi Saul and David Mogentale, and we've had StoryTime with Rabbi Saul of David and Goliath, but we haven't done our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. And yeah, probably want to get the kids out of the room for this one, because they're deliberately, shall we say, risque, dirty, naughty, and all those good things, because they're limericks. They're supposed to be kind of raunchy, 5-line poems, and they're about all these different places in Colorado. I've got more than 300 of them. We do a new one every single week, and this one, my friends, is for Badito, Colorado. Badito, not Bandito, Badito, B-A-D-I-T-O, Badito, Colorado. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and then I will read our weekly Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
You're the poetry man. A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain, Colorado, 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 Colorado.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Colorado. We go to Colorado because my wife and I lived in Colorado for a bunch of years, and in a lot of ways, I still miss it. It was a wonderful place. But I do not so wonderful things to the various places in Colorado that I can at least try and rhyme 3 times in a 5-line poem. So this time we go to Badito, Colorado. It's a ghost town in south central Colorado. It's not really there or operational anymore. It had a post office that was built in 1865 and ran until just 1910. And yet, even though they're more than 100 years old, there are still a few ruined structures remaining. If you go to the Badito area, we'll see remains of places people lived, people stayed, probably a schoolhouse. Early on, the Anasazi Pueblo Indians were there. The Spanish came through there in the early 1700s because it was along the Huerfano River, which was an important crossing point toward New Mexico. So when they did build that post office in the mid-1860s, it was called Little Orphan, the Huerfano River, Little Orphan, before being changed to Badito. A guidebook published in 1880 tells us that Badito was, quote, a small place occupied principally by stock raisers and a few agriculturalists, and the population at that point was 90. So already it had faded from its heyday, from its prosperity in the 1860s and 70s and 80s to becoming, it's going to be abandoned. When these ranchers and farmers die out, it'll be gone. But not from our memories, and certainly not from the annals and the annals of the days gone by. Colorado Limerick of the Damned, we go to Badito, Colorado. A luckless young lad from Badito got bit by a hungry mosquito. They thought for a while he'd come down with West Nile, for his dick turned as red as a Cheeto. Please send your comments and complaints to davesgoneby@aol.com, davesgoneby@aol.com. I try and read everything I get. I don't necessarily have the time to respond to, but I appreciate every single letter, every single email, every single thumbs up or down or sideways or emoji on our Facebook page. You can also reach me there by message or by posting. But I do love to hear from you, and I do love it when people tell other folks about the show, when I suddenly get friend requests out of the blue and they're not fake avatars of big-breasted Chinese women. And if you are a real big-breasted Chinese woman, feel free. But the fake ones and the influencers I don't really need. But if you are a real person, you've heard about Dave's Gone By, or you've gone surfing, and you want to be on our list every week, on our Facebook list, just to know when I post stuff, to remind you of what's coming up on the show, please do. Our Facebook page is Dave's Gone By. Our archive page, of course, is davesgoneby.com. We also have a Dave's Gone By section of archive.org. We have our audio archives at castbox.fm. We have a YouTube channel that I was talking about earlier for Dave's Gone By. It's all over the place. The same content, really. So your best place to start is davesgoneby.com for all things Dave, and then circle back with us here every Saturday morning for Dave's Gone By Live on Facebook. Well, my friends, we've done quite a bit. Here we are. Gonna send you off with these thoughts that it is raining, not hurricaning, but it is raining outside here in northern Baltimore, as it has been now for about a week. on and off. And it goes back to a sort of an in-joke of the show, that since we've lived in Maryland, and I've mentioned this many times, since we moved to northern Maryland, most of the week, whatever the season, the weather tends to be pretty nice. And we get sunshine, not as much sunshine as Colorado, but we get some really, really nice days here. But invariably, most of the weeks that I would do the show on Saturday mornings, Saturdays were grim, gloomy, foggy, drizzly, or straight up rainy. And literally, the percentages rule again, because once again, we've got this rainy, damp day. But of course, this is all coming from Hurricane Helene. Still, it's pretty funny, but it also reminds me, it is amazing how cyclical the world is. This is my takeaway from it, especially around Rosh Hashanah. This is how cyclical, because it was only 2.5, 3 months ago when it was July, and we're looking out the window, and you're looking at the front lawn, and you're looking at the back lawn, and we don't have ground sprinklers. We don't have those sprinkler things coming because we don't want to deal with the expense and the sprinkler heads that get chopped off every time the gardeners come and mow. So it's like, and I was too busy and or lazy to go out and stand there with a hose and sprinkle and sprinkle and sprinkle. So of course the lawn turned absolutely pitch brown gray. Almost completely, little pockets of green here and there, the front lawn and the back lawn. And why? Because we had about 2 weeks with zero moisture, zero rain at all, desert-ish conditions, and 89, 90, 92 degree weather in the middle of the day. So not only, cloud cover will save a lot of things, but if it's direct sunshine hitting the grass, it's gonna burn. It's just gonna get parched and dry and empty. Everything's going to dry up. If you've ever read Pearl Buck's The Good Earth, you know what happens to good earth when it doesn't get a drop of water, right? It's just, and if you do water, but you water at the wrong time, and then the sun shines on the water, it just boils the water and burns the grass anyway. So there's no real point. You can water and do whatever, maybe try and be like a golf course and have beautiful lawn the whole year round. It's an effort. It's a part-time job in the middle of hot summer to keep your grass looking okay. So at a certain point, it's just like the hell with it. I'll stand out here. I'll pour. I'll stand with a hose. I'll stand with I'll put the little back and forth sprinkler. I'll do whatever the hell I can. But it's not going to work. Nothing's going to happen. As long as there's no actual rain in the sky from God or fate, it'll do so much. It's still going to be parched looking, patchy, awful. And it was. I watered for a week, nothing. Little bit greener, didn't really save the lawn at all, because probably I already let it die. Right? And then rain came. Right? And a few days after the rain came, and more rain came, and then more rain came, suddenly, as if by magic, and also the temperature went down from like 85, 90 to 70, 75, and a lot of clouds, magically, and here's the thing that killed me. I thought that the front lawn would come back a lot quicker because I spent a few days actually standing there watering the front lawn in the hopes that it would make a difference. I didn't do the back lawn. Didn't want to deal with it. Didn't have the time. It was gray. It was brown. I just, it sucks to look out, but it's the middle of summer. What can you do, right? The rains come, and the lawns came back at exactly the same time. Didn't make a damn difference that I was trying to help the front lawn in a way that I wasn't the back lawn. No. When it came time for clouds and mist and humidity and rain, that's when the lawns came back. And now we've had a week of rain. There's literally, not on our lawn yet, but there's mushrooms all over the neighborhood that are growing where they were parched just weeks ago. And it's all a reminder that, and it's an important reminder that everything you're going through really is kind of cyclical. That the misery you're in right now, you have no idea 3 months down the line what will change. Could get worse. If you're Jewish, you're like, it's bad, but this is gonna get worse. But it probably, if not get better, it will morph into something else. It will change. So this lawn that you're looking at that is helpless, that is in the middle of a prairie 1930s Dust Bowl drought, is going to turn green once it rains for more than a day or two in a row and the temperatures come down, right? And then you're going to walk around, and what used to be almost like walking on concrete is going to feel nice and squishy under your feet. And the weird part is our lawn is not perfect. There's tons of what we have growing that's green is actually weed on the lawn, and there's still patches. Even with all this rain, for some reason, there's still patches of the lawn that are more dirt than anything else. But you look at it, it looks like a pretty green lawn. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for that renewal. The renewal that we get, whether as Americans we celebrate the regular New Year, January 1st, or we as Jews, I as Jews, and Rabbi Saul Solomon as Jews, and Potato as probably Jewish. Well, he had a part snipped off. We feel like, January, or whatever Rosh Hashanah is, whatever Yom Kippur is, it's a turning of the page. One day is not really going to be that different. Your birthday, right? When you're a kid, you think your birthday is going to make a damn difference. When you're older, birthday really is just a day, no matter if you have a big party or you're just doing all the usual things one day to the next. It's like, okay, I'm 42. I'll be 43. Now I'm 43. Woo, right? And yet, it's nice to seize that opportunity to say, maybe things will turn around. Maybe they'll get better. Maybe I can make things better. Invent something new, create something new and different, or just create something new and different in ourselves and in our lives. So I'm going to leave you with that. I feel like Keith Olbermann. I'm going to leave you with that on this fine, rainy Saturday morning, September 28th, 2024, just before the Jewish holidays. I want to wish a most happy Shana Tova to my mom, to my two aunts, Bonnie and Esther, and to all my cousins, and then to all the family I've got scattered all over the place. I want to give also a shout out to my in-laws. So love you guys too, even though it's not your new year yet, but we're closing in on it, and glad everybody's happy and healthy. Hope that you are too. We will be back next, because we will be off on Yom Kippur Saturday, but that's not next Saturday. That's still a little bit away. So we should be back next Saturday, the first one in October, for the 963rd episode of Dave's Gone By. Will we have a guest? Very possible, maybe even probable. Who the guest is, I don't know yet, but we always have lots of stuff for you here in the Daverhood. And with that, I leave you with a rainy and joyful farewell, and you know the music, Gone By.
Days gone by, they're gone by. Days gone by, they're gone by. Days gone by, they're gone by.
Yeah, I was really lit this program. I know, I should have quit while I was ahead. Yeah.